Chapter 27. Wang Lin looked at Zhang Hu's back. After a long time, he let out a sigh. He held the yellow paper in his hand and felt sad. Zhang Hu was his first friend in the Hengyu sect, but now something like this had happened. This immortal talisman is the root of the problem. Wang Lin looked at the yellow paper in his hand, and his expression changed. He immediately found something different. Although this yellow paper looked the same as the talismans used to visit relatives, the spiritual energy it contained was far more than any of the talismans. In addition, there was a dangerous aura coming from it. Wang Lin was shocked. Although he didn't know what it was definitely a treasure. After hesitating for a bit, Wang Lin put away the yellow paper and looked at the body on the ground. He sighed. If he didn't get rid of the body, with Zhang Hu's speed, he wouldn't be able to escape the sect. Luckily, there was enough space in the storage bag to put a body. Wang Lin cleaned up the room, wiped off the blood, and quietly left. He found a mountain stream in the mountains and threw the body down. Then he carefully returned to his room. After sighing, he didn't think about Zhang Hu anymore. He took out the immortal talisman and carefully studied it. At first glance, this immortal talisman seemed to be no different from the ones used by honorary disciples to visit relatives. However, after careful observation, Wang Lin found that whether it was the material or the red strokes on it, it was far better than the former. Wang Lin held the immortal talisman and pondered for a bit. He didn't know the specific use of this immortal talisman. Ever since he drank the dew and almost died, he was very wary of immortal things and didn't dare to use them carelessly. Plus, there was a hint of danger coming from this immortal talisman, which made him even more cautious. After hesitating for a bit, he put the immortal talisman in his storage bag to study later. After doing this, he took out the mysterious bead and entered the dream space. This time, he didn't put all his energy into breathing. Instead, he took some time to practice the attraction technique. He used this technique on Brother Liu and felt that it was very useful, so he made up his mind to practice it. First, he used the gourd as a practice target. He used the gravitational spell to grab the gourd from afar. The gourd was very light, and after several attempts, he finally managed to grab it. Seeing that he had succeeded once, Wang Lin immediately stopped the gravitational spell and started from the beginning again. Wang Lin's thinking was very simple. He believed that the gravity art had to be successful 10 times out of 10. Otherwise, no matter how powerful it would be useless if it couldn't be used at the critical moment. He calculated that in his current state, he could only succeed 3 or 4 times out of 10, which was far from the requirements he had set for himself. Time flew by in the dream world. Without even realizing it, Wang Lin felt like he was being torn apart and returned to reality. He wasted no time, opening his eyes and drinking a few mouthfuls of spring water. Then he sat down cross-legged to do breathing exercises. Once he was filled with spiritual energy, he took a deep breath, and his eyes glittered as he recalled the contents of the 3 volumes of qi condensation. In the 3 volumes of qi condensation, other than the mantras for each level, there were also 2 extremely important mantras. These mantras were the true crux of qi condensation. There were 15 levels to qi condensation. Apart from the first level, which could be cultivated naturally, the other 14 levels require their own mantras. For example, he had already cultivated the first level of qi condensation. If he did not have the mantras for the second level, even if he mastered the mantras for the second level, he would not be able to cultivate to the second level. Wang Lin silently recited the mantras, and the spiritual energy in his body began to change. At first, the change was slight, but as time went on, it became more intense. Finally, it was like boiling water coursing through his body. Slowly, the spiritual energy began to run out, and it began to flow intermittently throughout his body. Soreness, numbness, itchiness, pain, and all sorts of other sensations began to spread throughout his body. He had the illusion that he was riddled with holes, and that his spiritual energy was the source of all of this. In the 3 volumes of qi condensation, there was a very prominent description of the mantras. The mantras for each level were not always successful. Talent, spiritual energy, and luck all played a key role. Some people could succeed on the first try, while others needed 10, 100 after a long time. The sensations began to dissipate. Wang Lin's body was covered in sweat, and the spiritual energy in his body had completely dissipated. But Wang Lin understood from the 3 volumes of qi condensation that this kind of dissipation was only temporary and could be recovered after a session of meditation. He did not succeed in opening the second level. Despite his failure, Wang Lin was not discouraged. He had only tried this time, and it turned out that the spiritual energy in his body was not enough to open the second level. After all, he had only just finished cultivating the first level. He was not in a hurry. After all, he had the spring water gourd. At worst, he could just keep cultivating the first level, and when he reached the limit of the first level, he could open the second level again. This way, the success rate would naturally increase. With this plan in mind, Wang Lin began to cultivate day and night. The spiritual energy in his body gradually accumulated, and the number of times he could use the gravity art also increased. He had tried many times to open a mantra for the second level, but all of them had failed. Half a month had passed in the real world, and 3 months had passed in the dream world. One day, Wang Lin was doing breathing exercises, waiting for the time to pass in the dream world. Seeing that it was still early, he hesitated for a moment, then began to silently recite the mantra for the second level, preparing to try again. He had already lost count of how many times he had tried. Each time, the spiritual energy in his body completely dissipated, and he did not succeed. 2 hours later, Wang Lin raised his head, exhausted. The spiritual energy in his body had completely dissipated. He laughed bitterly to himself. I failed again. Opening the second level is really too difficult. Suddenly, his expression changed, and his eyes flashed as he stared at the door. Junior apprentice Brother Wang, come out and see me. A cold voice came from outside the door. The voice was somewhat familiar. Wang Lin stood up and opened the door. He saw a 27 or 28-year-old youth in black standing outside with a cold expression. Black robe. Wang Lin's heart tightened. He recognized the identity of the other person. It was the youth surnamed Zhang who brought him, Wang Zhua, and Wang Hao to the Hengyu sect. It was also this person who brought Wang Lin's father to the bottom of the cliff to find him. However, Wang Lin remembered that at that time, the other person was still wearing white, but now, in just a few months, he had been promoted to black robe. He suddenly remembered that during the test at the foot of the mountain, the third apprentice brother, who took Wang Hao in as an alchemy boy, had said that Wang Hao had reached a critical moment in his cultivation. The sect leader was afraid that it would affect his cultivation, so he arranged for Wang Hao to take the test. Chapter 28. Among the purple, black, white, and red colors, black represented a very high level of power. He couldn't see through the other's cultivation level, so he said respectfully, Wang Lin greets Senior Zhang. Congratulations on becoming a black robe. The black-robed youth glanced at Wang Lin, and his expression softened. A month ago, I was able to enter the 5th level of qi condensation, and that had something to do with you. If I hadn't found the Eye of the Wind while looking for you, I wouldn't have been able to break through so quickly. Wang Lin was startled and asked, Senior Zhang, the Eye of the Wind on the cliff can help with cultivation? The black-robed youth nodded. When you reach the peak of the 4th level of qi condensation and activate the incantation for the 5th level, you can go there. You'll know then. He glanced at Wang Lin and said, Junior Wang, your talent is mediocre, and this is something you have no choice in. But now that you become an inner sect disciple, you need to work even harder. I can see that you don't have any spiritual energy in your body, and you haven't even reached the 1st level of qi condensation. I'm afraid you're the only inner sect disciple who hasn't reached the 1st level. Wang Lin's heart skipped a beat, but he forced a smile. I'll remember Senior Zhang's words, and I'll work even harder. After that, he changed the topic and asked, May I know why Senior Brother Zhang is here? The black-robed youth laughed. Nothing big. The Chore House's honorary disciple went missing. Someone saw you go there, so I came to ask about it. Wang Lin's expression was normal, and he smiled. I remember that. I don't usually go to the chore house, but half a month ago, I passed by there. The honorary disciple was rude to me, and I taught him a lesson. Perhaps he took it too hard and was afraid that I would cause trouble for him. So he left the mountain. Senior brother Zhang nodded slightly and looked at Wang Lin with a faint smile. He said, "A disgusting nominal disciple has nothing to do with it. Today, I came here for another thing. After discussing with several martial uncles, the head thinks that the chore office should not be controlled by a nominal disciple. They want to arrange an inner core disciple to take charge of it. But all the inner core disciples are not willing to go and are busy with cultivation." Wang Lin smiled bitterly and said, "I understand. They have assigned me the work." Senior brother Zhang smiled and nodded. "Pack up and head over today. The chore office is in a mess now. You have to tidy it up properly." With that, he cupped his fists towards Wang Lin and took a step forward. A small, sparkling and translucent sword immediately appeared and carried him away, disappearing without a trace in the blink of an eye. Wang Lin's face showed helplessness. He did not want to go to the chore office. There were many people there, and it was easy to be discovered. Moreover, there must be a lot of work, which would seriously affect his cultivation time. But now he had to go, so, with a belly full of anger, he went back to his room to pack up and went to the chore office. After arriving here, he had made a decision in his heart that he must not stay in the chore office for too long. At present, the only way was to completely mess up the chore office and let all nominal disciples ask the head for a replacement. This was the only way. With an idea in mind, Wang Lin tidied up the room of the youth surnamed Liu. Finally, except for a bed and a table, all the useless things were thrown in the yard. While doing this, several disciples came to the chore office one after another. They had already learned that Wang Lin had taken over the place. They were all uneasy. Those who had satirized Wang Lin the most were pale, and their hearts were beating fast. He wanted to help Wang Lin clean up, but after being glared at by Wang Lin, he obediently stood in the yard like a cicada in winter. After packing up, Wang Lin leisurely took out a chair and sat down. He coldly looked at the more than 100 nominal disciples in front of him. He knew that the Hung Yu sect had a lot of nominal disciples, and these were only a part of them. In the next few days, there would be nominal disciples coming back to hand over work. "You, in the future, cut firewood 500 pounds a day." Wang Lin randomly pointed at a person. He remembered that this person had secretly ridiculed him. The person was startled and immediately said with a sad face, "Senior brother Wang, I used to work in the kitchen. I only knew how to cook. I didn't know how to cut firewood." Wang Lin rolled his eyes, snorted, and said, "Increase the amount 1,000 pounds a day." The other party knelt on the ground with a thud and howled loudly, sobbing, "Senior brother Wang, please do me a favor. I know I was wrong. I shouldn't have laughed at you back then, but please don't use your power to take revenge. How can I finish 1,000 pounds? How about 500 pounds? Everyone looked at each other. They knew that Wang Lin would make things difficult, but they didn't think that he was making things difficult. He was clearly taking revenge. A few nominal disciples in the crowd immediately shouted in dissatisfaction, "Everyone, don't listen to him. Let's go find the elder and let the elder uphold justice. This Wang Lin is too much of a bastard. That's right. Let's go find the elder and change it to another inner disciple. If they don't change, we will kneel and never get up. That's right, let's go. Don't stay here. This Wang Lin is obviously a villain. He didn't think about the fact that he had to commit suicide to enter the sect. It's really fucking shameful." The voices became louder and louder, and in the end, more than 80 people left the yard. They had wronged expressions on their faces as they walked toward the main courtyard. Along the way, they shouted that Wang Lin wasn't going to let them live. Wang Lin leaned on the chair leisurely and did not stop them. He was quite hoping that these people could succeed. In this way, if the sect leader was angry, he would definitely change it to someone else, and he could also cultivate in peace. The remaining 10 or so people were all hesitant. They wanted to leave, but they were afraid that if they didn't succeed, they would completely offend Wang Lin. Wang Lin was not in a hurry. He waited for the result of the main courtyard. Not long after, The nominal disciples who had just left came back one by one. This time, they did not clamor, but they all had despair in their eyes, and they were silent. When Wang Lin saw their expressions, he knew that he had failed. He was quite disappointed. It seemed that he needed to make things bigger. Thinking of this, he curled his lips, glanced at the crowd, and said, "You secretly ridiculed me. Listen to me. I came today for revenge. If you're dissatisfied, go find the elder. If you can drive me out of this chore office, I will thank him. Senior Brother Wang, you are a magnanimous person. Please let us go." A disciple immediately begged for mercy. "That's right, Senior Brother Wang, we were blind back then. Please spare us. I'll kowtow to you. Senior Brother Wang, they all said bad things about you back then, but I didn't. I even defended you back then. Chapter 29. Without waiting for this person to speak, someone next to him angrily said, "Zhao Xiao Heir, you were the one who scolded him the most. Senior Apprentice Brother Wang, don't listen to him. His scolding was worse than anyone else's." Zhao Xiao Heir's expression slightly changed as he angrily said, "Zhao Xiao San, I'm your older brother. You're a traitor. When you go back to your room, I'll beat you up. This is called righteousness before family. Senior Apprentice Brother Wang, please be kind and give me an easier job. Senior Brother Wang, don't listen to them. They are good at echoing each other. I don't know how many nominal disciples have been cheated by them. Senior Brother, in fact, I am the one who has never said a bad word about you from beginning to end." A pretty female honorary disciple pitifully said, "Senior Apprentice Brother Wang, my body has never been good since I was a child. I can't do any heavy work. How about I come every night and massage your shoulders? Is that okay?" There weren't many female honorary disciples in the Hongyu sect. Less than 10% of them were female. After all, in the perseverance test, males had the advantage. The fewer female nominal disciples were naturally extremely popular, and some even won the favor of the inner disciples by virtue of their talent. At this time, another female honorary disciple winked at Wang Lin and said, "Senior Apprentice Brother, before, Senior Apprentice Brother Liu didn't make me do any heavy work. I just have to come every night and serve you. I'm familiar with a few of the honorary disciples. I'll bring them to see you tonight. Is that okay?" Everyone was eager to tell Wang Lin that they didn't say anything bad about him. After listening for a long time, Wang Lin became impatient and shouted, "All of you, shut up. What nonsense is this?" He pointed at someone and said, "You, fetch water, 20 vats a day. If you're not satisfied, go find an elder." The other person's body trembled, and he opened his mouth for a long time. Seeing Wang Lin's impatient expression, he immediately smiled and nodded. "You wash clothes, wash 500 pounds a day. Remember, if you're not satisfied, look for the elders." The person who was pointed at swallowed a mouthful of saliva. His vision darkened, and he almost fainted. He muttered, 500 kilograms, this is the total of all the clothes in the sect added together. Clean up the place. I'll leave the entire sect to you. If you're not satisfied, go look for an elder. You, clean the latrine. If I see a fly in there, you can stay there. Go gather herbs, 500 gene a day. If you try to fool me with weeds, I'll break your legs and expel you from the sect. Listen up, if you're not satisfied, go look for the elders." The others were fine. Although the workload was heavy, they all endured it. But the last person who was pointed out, his legs went soft, and he immediately fainted. All of the honorary disciples showed a pitiful expression. Even the entire Hongyu sect didn't have that many herbs. Wang Lin pointed at the faces that ridiculed him in his memory one by one. He didn't feel tired, and after a while, he finally finished arranging the tasks. Finally, he hesitated for a moment. These tasks couldn't be done at all. There was no other way but to find the elders. But if the elders in the sect still didn't budge, then it would be troublesome. Just in case, he had to make things bigger and let everyone know that if he, Wang Lin, continued to work in the shore house, it would be a big mistake. Thinking of this, he pointed at a new face and said, "You're lucky. The job is very simple. You just have to receive gifts for me and make a list of who gave me what. Every month, every day, and every month I'll throw them all to you. If you're greedy, I'll expel you from the sect." The person immediately knelt on the ground in surprise and kowtowed. He repeatedly promised that he wouldn't make a mistake. All the honorary disciples were stunned. Before, Liu had always been secretive about this matter, but this Wang Lin in front of them actually dared to openly ask for bribes. At this time, an honorary disciple suddenly stepped forward and took out 3 visiting talismans. He presented them with both hands and flattered, "Senior Brother Wang, this is a gift from me to you." Wang Lin snorted, took it, and put it in his arms. He said, "What kind of work did I arrange for you?" "Fetch water, 20 vats a day." The person quickly said, his eyes showing nervousness. 5 vats a day," Wang Lin said slowly. The person was immediately surprised and thanked him again and again. With someone taking the lead, the rest of the people immediately began to move. Just as they were about to step forward, Wang Lin slowly stood up and said, "Disperse. Those who give gifts must abide by the rules. Write down your job and the job you want on a piece of paper and send it to the person I designate. Every 10 days. After that, he walked to the room without looking back and slammed the door. All the people in the yard sighed, and some even looked angry. They cursed Wang Lin in their hearts, but no one dared to say it directly. They all left with a long face. After they all left, Wang Lin walked out of the room and carefully searched the chore house. Finally, he found a storage room behind a door in a secluded corner. The utility room was not large. Wang Lin looked around. Although he was not very satisfied, it was the most hidden place here. So he cleared an open space, locked the door, sat down cross-legged, and entered the dream space. Time flew. In the blink of an eye, Wang Lin had been the manager of the chore office for 2 months. In these 2 months, except for the first few days when he arranged the work of the nominal disciples, he spent all his time on cultivation. He did not care about the work of the nominal disciples at all. As long as there was something that was not finished, he would snort a few times, and the other party would immediately hand over the talisman. Wang Lin was very upset in these 2 months. His cultivation was always interrupted by the nominal disciples who came from time to time. He could not guess what those martial uncles and elders were thinking. He had done so much, but no one else had come. Chapter 30. Do you want me to go even further? In order to leave the chore department, Wang Lin was ready to go all out. He wanted to see where the limits of these martial uncles were. In private, in the hearts of the honorary disciples, Wang Lin, in addition to trash and shameless, also had the nickname Black-Hearted King. Compared to the youth named Liu's nickname Weasel, it was much higher in terms of cultivation level. After a year of cultivation in the dream world, the spiritual energy in Wang Lin's body had increased by several times. The first layer of qi condensation was his limit. No matter how much he cultivated, his spiritual energy would not increase. So one night, he tried to open the second layer. After a series of failures, his hard work paid off. He finally broke through the first layer of the qi condensation stage and entered the second layer. A large amount of black oil appeared in the pores of his body. After washing himself, Wang Lin looked at himself in the water. His eyes were bright like lightning. He looked different from before. He rubbed his chin and thought to himself, "Right now, I only have the chant for the 3rd level of qi condensation. If I ask Sun Daju for the rest of the chant and let him know that I've reached the 2nd level of qi condensation, he will definitely ask me why. If I can't explain myself, then I might get into trouble." After thinking for a long time, Wang Lin couldn't think of any good ideas. He couldn't help but frown. Sighing, he practiced the attraction force technique for a while. After more than a year in the dream world, he could already succeed 9 out of 10 times. Because of this, Wang Lin decided to increase the intensity of his training. He found a big rock in the chore department and used the attraction force technique on it. Time passed quickly, and another month passed. Wang Lin's torment in the chore department caused the honorary disciples to complain. But now that it was winter, the sect began to prepare for the inter-disciple competition at the end of the year. In addition, this year was also the Hengyu sect's once-in-a-decade honorary disciple ranking competition. The top 3 would be qualified to become an inter-disciple. All of the honorary disciples were rubbing their fists and secretly making their own plans. Thus, the matter regarding the chore department was delayed, and no one asked about it. Wang Lin was quite disappointed with this. Wang Lin did not plan to participate in the inner disciple competition. If he had the time, he might as well enter the dreamland to cultivate. On this day, the entire Hungyu sect was covered in snow. Snowflakes the size of goose feathers fell from the sky. From afar, it looked like they were wrapped in silver. It could be described as 1,000 miles of ice and 10,000 miles of snow. Wang Lin didn't cultivate. Instead, he stood quietly in the courtyard and willed the gravity arcane art. It was as if there was an invisible hand waving around him. Snowflakes fell from his body, but not a single one landed on him. He looked in the direction of the mountain village. In the past, at this time of the year, his parents would light up the stove at home. He sat by the stove and read. His father was making wood carvings with his tools, and his mother was busy storing pickled vegetables. Sometimes, when he was tired from reading, he would sit next to his father and watch him make wood carvings. When he was in a good mood, he would help out. The father and son were very happy. In addition to this, Wang Lin also remembered that he hid some wooden tops under his bed. During the day, he would take them out to play on the ice with his neighbors. Thinking about this, Wang Lin couldn't help but take a deep breath. Cultivators needed to cut off their worldly desires. These things were all obsessions that affected cultivation. Wang Lin closed his eyes. When he opened them again, they were clear. He knew that he couldn't cut off his worldly desires, so he buried them deep in his heart. As he was thinking about this, his expression suddenly changed. He was now in the second layer of qi condensation and had developed an immortal instinct called divine sense. All of this was described in detail in the 3 volumes of qi condensation. With a sweep of his divine sense, he sensed Wang Hao walking over. Not long after, the courtyard door was pushed open. Wang Hao was wearing a leather hat and coat. He looked at Wang Lin with surprise and said, "Brother Taiju, aren't you cold? Why are you standing outside wearing so little? I calculated with my fingers that you would come to my place, so I endured the cold and came out to welcome you." Wang Lin chuckled. He really didn't feel cold. Ever since he had reached the second layer of qi condensation, he could clearly feel that his body was much stronger than before. Wang Hao laughed and walked in. He took off his hat and carefully looked at Wang Lin. He suddenly said, "Brother Taiju, why do I feel like you're different from a few months ago?" Wang Lin joked, "Of course, I have reached the second layer of qi condensation. I can be considered an immortal." Wang Hao curled his lips and walked towards the room. He said, "Don't brag. Our talents are about the same. I have the help of the spirit gathering pill, but I still haven't reached the first layer of qi condensation. You? Forget it." Wang Lin didn't argue. He knew that sometimes if he told the truth, others wouldn't believe him. If he lied, it might even arouse suspicions. After all, he didn't have much contact with Wang Hao, so his words were naturally guarded. Wang Lin admitted that he couldn't be like old friends at first sight. "Wang Hao, how come you have time to come here today? Is the alchemy room not busy?" Wang Lin returned to his room and poured a cup of hot water for Wang Hao. Wang Hao took the cup, blew on it a few times, and took a sip. He smiled and said, "You haven't gone to the alchemy room to get anything these past few months. I left your share and came to deliver it to you today." With that, he took out a small package and placed it on the table. Wang Lin revealed a smile that wasn't a smile. He didn't even look at the package and quietly waited for Wang Hao to continue. He didn't believe that Wang Hao would come to deliver something for no reason. Wang Hao blushed and suddenly said, "Brother Taiju, I heard that you've been living well in the chore department these past few months. Wang Hao, if you have something to say, just say it. If I can help, I'll definitely help." Wang Lin poured himself a cup of water and took a sip. Embarrassment flashed across Wang Hao's face. He moved closer and whispered mysteriously, "Brother Taiju, I already knew that you were a smart person. Tell me the truth. I know that you have a lot of immortal talismans for in-name disciples to visit relatives. Can you lend me some?" Chapter 31. Wang Lin's expression was normal as he asked, "How much do you need?" Wang Hao hesitated for a moment, then said, "At least 200. That much? What do you need it for?" Wang Lin was startled. He could take out 200. In the past few months, he had received nearly 500 bribes. Wang Hao sighed and said with a bitter face, Brother Taizhu, there are still 2 months until the inner disciple competition. Although I have the qualifications to participate, I don't have the ability to get a ranking. But I'm not satisfied. That guy Wang Zhua is already at the peak of the first level of qi condensation, and I heard he's trying to open the second level. How can he cultivate so fast? Wang Lin hadn't seen Wang Zhua in a long time, so he was quite surprised. Talent was indeed important. Wang Hao's face was filled with anger. It's all because he has a good master. His master didn't hesitate to ask my master for a furnace of good fortune pills. These are extremely precious medicines in the sect. After eating them, one's cultivation speed will naturally increase. Wang Lin nodded and asked, What does this have to do with you borrowing immortal talismans? Of course it has to do with it. You don't interact much with people, so you don't know. Every year, a month before the sect competition, the inner disciples will secretly hold a small trade fair. At that time, everyone will take out their treasures and trade with each other in preparation for the competition. I've heard from elders that anything can be used at the trade fair. Flying swords, magical treasures, medicinal pills, and so on. Wang Hao whispered, his eyes shining. Hearing this, Wang Lin's heart pounded. He didn't have any interest in flying swords or magical treasures, but the qi condensation chant grabbed his heart. He thought that he might be able to trade there. After thinking for a moment, he said, There are only so many inner disciples. Can they really trade with each other? Wang Hao sneered and said, Brother Taizhu, you've asked the right question. That's why the trade fair has another rule. To be frank, to participate in the trade fair, one must have a shape and sound transformation pill. After taking this pill, unless one has reached the foundation establishment stage, they won't be able to see any clues. Wang Lin's eyes flashed as he asked, Did you borrow the immortal talisman for this medicinal pill? Wang Hao was startled, then nodded and said, Big Brother Taizhu is indeed smart. That is indeed the case. This pill is controlled by my master. Every year at this time, he would sell it privately. The price is 200 immortal talismans per pill. Wang Lin pondered for a while and said with a smile, This trade fair is quite interesting. I also want to go and take a look. Wang Hao promptly said, All right, as long as you have a pill, you can participate. This time I came to obtain a good fortune pill. I heard that this time an inner sect disciple is selling it. With a flip of his right hand, Wang Lin took out 400 immortal talismans from his storage bag. These immortal talismans were bundled together, with 100 immortal talismans as a set. Wang Hao's eyes lit up. He put it in his bag of holding and excitedly said, Brother Taizhu, there's about half a month left. I'll come find you then, and we can go together. Wang Lin nodded. After chatting with him for a while, Wang Hao stood up and left. After Wang Hao left, Wang Lin pondered for a while. This trade fair was very important to him. If there really was a chant for the later stages of qi condensation, he had to obtain it. However, he didn't have anything valuable on him right now. All the immortal talismans had been used to buy medicinal pills. After thinking for a long time, he decided to get some spirit qi spring water. This thing should be very attractive. In any case, with the help of medicinal pills, no one would be able to see through his identity. After making up his mind, Wang Lin no longer thought about this matter. At this time, the dream space hadn't reached its limit yet, so he couldn't enter. Wang Lin went to the chore office and began to practice the gravity art. He had practiced the gravitational spell more than 10,000 times in the dream space, and he was getting more and more familiar with it. If he could control the gourd, he would be able to succeed 10 times out of 10 times. In his daily life, he would be able to grab small objects with a single hand. However, if the object was too large, the success rate would drop. But as the spirit qi in his body grew, especially after he entered the second level of qi condensation, the power of the gravity art began to show. After practicing for a few hours, the sky outside had darkened and the snow was still falling. Wang Lin didn't immediately enter the dream space, but stood at the door and stared at the snow, deep in thought. During the month of cultivation in the second level, Wang Lin had discovered a problem. The effect of the spirit qi spring water had decreased. Although this decrease wasn't big and could be made up for with more, it still gave him a trace of worry. He was worried that as his chi condensation level increased, there would come a day when the spirit chi spring water would lose its effects. Of the liquid in which the mysterious pearl is soaked, dew is the best, followed by spring water. However, gathering dew takes too long and isn't enough. There isn't any in the winter. Only the spring water is simple and practical. It can't be obtained in an unlimited amount. If the spring water really loses its effect one day, I must prepare a substitute in advance. Wang Lin muttered to himself, staring at the thick snow on the ground, his eyes flashing. He moved his hands and secretly used the gravity art. Large chunks of snow floated up from the ground, moving along the room like a snow dragon into a large vat. Before long, the vat was half full. Wang Lin stopped using the gravity art and came to the side of the vat. He formed a seal with one hand and tried more than 10 times. Finally, a fireball the size of a baby's fist appeared. The fireball emitted a high temperature, and the snow quickly melted. After it completely melted, he wiped the sweat from his forehead. Using 2 different spells consecutively was quite taxing. There wasn't much snow in the vat. Without a word, Wang Lin took out the mysterious pearl and threw it in. After half an incense stick of time, he put the pearl away. He had studied the mysterious pearl very thoroughly. For example, soaking it in spring water for half an incense stick of time was the limit. He tried soaking it for a longer time, but in the end he found that no matter how long it soaked, as long as it was more than half an incense stick of time, the effect was the same. Using a ladle to scoop out some, he took a sip, closed his eyes slightly, and carefully observed the density of the spirit chi in his body. After a while, he opened his eyes and muttered to himself, "The effect is much better than spring water, but still lower than dew. I can use it." He immediately took out gourds one after another from his storage bag. These gourds were collected in the mountains for the past 6 months. After tossing and turning for an entire night, all the snow in the courtyard was cleared. Only then did he fill a small half of the gourds with spirit chi snow water. Chapter 32. In the following days, other than in the dreamland, Wang Lin was busy storing snow water. If it weren't for the fact that he was worried about spiritual energy leaking out, he would have used a large vat as a container. Right now, he could only use gourds. Thankfully, he had quite a few gourds. After a few days, he had accumulated hundreds of small gourds. He estimated that the snow water in these gourds would be enough to last him a long time in the dreamland. After storing the gourds, Wang Lin began to cultivate. Although the spring water's effectiveness had decreased, it wasn't completely ineffective. He could still use it. In the blink of an eye, 10 days passed. During these 10 days, Wang Lin had drunk far more spring water than he had in the past. Thankfully, the spring water immediately dissolved into spiritual energy within his body. Otherwise, his stomach wouldn't have been able to hold so much liquid. The second level of chi condensation required several times more spiritual energy than the first level. By now, Wang Lin had actually been cultivating in the dreamland for more than 9 months. If he had been cultivating in the first level for 9 months and had an abundant supply of spiritual energy, he would have had some minor success. But now, although he could feel that his spiritual energy had increased by quite a bit, it still hadn't reached a satisfactory level. Today was the day he had agreed to meet with Wang Hao. Wang Lin didn't enter the dreamland to cultivate. Instead, he quietly waited for Wang Hao to arrive. It was midnight, and it was snowing heavily outside. Wang Hao's figure appeared in Wang Lin's divine sense. Before long, Wang Hao pushed open the door, but didn't walk in. He hurriedly said, "Master was delayed by pill concocting. It wasn't easy for me to get out. Hurry, the trade fair is about to begin." With that, he hurriedly walked out, followed by Wang Lin. The two of them stepped on the snow and walked in the sect for a short while. Then, they left the sect and walked along the mountain path into the depths. The road was extremely slippery, so Wang Hao didn't dare to walk too fast. He cautiously walked forward. His body shivered as he cursed, "This damned weather. It's snowing so heavily. If I fall down a mountain stream, even as a ghost, I'll demand justice." Wang Lin's body was light, so he didn't feel the same way. In fact, he felt that the weather was good. Once the trade fair was over, he should be able to accumulate a lot of snow water. After walking for a while, Wang Hao stopped and mysteriously handed Wang Lin a green medicinal pill. He whispered, "We're almost there. I came here a few days ago. Just a few more turns and we'll be there. Let's take the pill first. Don't let anyone recognize us." With that, he took out a similar medicinal pill and popped it into his mouth. A thick, black mist quickly spread out from his body, wrapping around him. A hoarse voice came from the mist. "How is it? Can you tell who I am?" Wang Lin's divine sense spread out and found that it was as if it was stuck in mud. Only then did he relax a bit and say, "This pill is indeed mysterious." With that, he threw the pill into his mouth, and the same thing happened. The two of them quickly walked into the depths of the dark mist. After a few turns, an empty space appeared at the end of the path. The open space was very large, and there were dozens of shadows that looked exactly like Wang Lin and Li Wuyo standing there. All of them were silent. After arriving, Wang Lin and Wang Hao found an empty spot and stood there motionlessly. Not long after, seeing that no one else was coming, one of them walked out. He coughed and said hoarsely, "Time's up. I'll still be the host this time. The rules are the same. I'll go first." With that, he took out a small silver sword and continued, "This flying sword doesn't belong to the Sword Spirit Pavilion. I got it by chance. It's quite powerful. I only want 500 talismans." Some of the people in the crowd discussed among themselves. After waiting for a long time, one of them took out 500 talismans and made a deal with the other party. At this moment, another person said, "I have a low-grade jade talisman here. It can cast a spell similar to the earth-splitting spell 3 times. I only want 10 spirit-seizing pills." He took out a sparkling and translucent jade pendant, waved it in front of him, and put it away. "I'll trade with you." Not far from Wang Lin, a person immediately said. Just as he was about to step forward, another person quickly said, "I'll give you 12 spirit-gathering pills in exchange for this jade talisman." The first person hesitated and glared at the other person. He didn't say anything. He thought that 10 pills was the limit. After that, the crowd stepped forward one by one and took out their items. The scene became more and more lively. Sometimes there were people fighting over an item. In the end, the highest bidder won. "I have a spell. As long as you are at the 2nd level of chi condensation, you can practice it. It can hide your cultivation for a short period of time. Unless you are at the foundation establishment stage, you won't be able to detect it. I know this thing is of little use. I only want 10 5-spirit-gathering pills." The person who spoke hesitantly said. Everyone laughed. This spell was completely useless. Inner sect disciples spoke based on their cultivation. The higher their cultivation, the better they would be treated. It would hide their cultivation for no reason. If the spell could hide their cultivation for a long time, then it would be fine. But it was only for a short period of time. What's more, it was so expensive. 5 spirit-gathering pills. Seeing that no one was interested, the person who spoke sighed and was about to take it. At this moment, Wang Lin suddenly stepped forward and said, 5 spirit-gathering pills. "I'll trade with you." The person was startled and immediately became happy. He quickly went forward to trade. Holding the jade talisman, Wang Lin was startled. He had never seen this thing before. He scanned it with his divine sense, and the incantation for this spell appeared in his mind. This thing wasn't very useful to others, but to him, it was very useful. Although it could only hide his cultivation for a short period of time, it wasn't perfect. At this time, another person walked out. Although his voice was hoarse, he was quite arrogant. He said proudly, "1 good fortune pill. If you want it, name your price." Wang Hao immediately became excited and quickly said, 20 spirit-gathering pills, 1,000 immortal talismans, and 1 flying sword. 2,000 immortal talismans, 30 spirit-gathering pills, and 500 immortal talismans. 1 low-grade jade talisman, 1 flying sword, 10 spirit-gathering pills, and 500 immortal talismans. Everyone shouted out their prices. Obviously, this good fortune pill was very important. Wang Lin learned from Wang Hao that this good fortune pill was a very precious medicine. After consuming it, the medicinal effect would stay in the body for 2 months. During these 2 months, the cultivator's absorption of spiritual energy would increase several times. It was the first choice for many inner sect disciples to open the next stage of qi condensation. Even within the sect, this thing was very precious. Every disciple under normal circumstances only had 2 chances to obtain it in their lifetime. When they were promoted to black robe, they could get 1, and when they were promoted to purple robe, they could get 2. Chapter 33. Wang Lin wasn't interested in the good fortune pill at all. Seeing that the price had reached such a high price, he couldn't help but feel sorry for Wang Hao. It seemed that Wang Hao wouldn't be able to obtain the good fortune pill. Just as he was thinking, Wang Hao suddenly shouted, 230 spirit gathering pills. This is my limit. Any more and I won't trade. The scene quieted down. 230 spirit gathering pills was already an extremely high price. Very few people could surpass it, but the good fortune pill was simply too rare. Many people were unwilling. Just at this moment, the person who took out the good fortune pill suddenly laughed. He arrogantly said, "You want to trade for my good fortune pill with 230 pills? Keep dreaming. I won't trade for less than 2,000 spirit gathering pills." Wang Lin felt that the person's tone was very familiar. After carefully sizing him up, he guessed that this person was most likely Wang Zhua. However, he couldn't be sure. After all, whether it was his figure, voice, or appearance, this person was hidden in the thick black fog. Wang Hao lowered his head and didn't make a sound. Everyone at the trade fair was stunned by this person's arrogant words. No one asked. The person in charge of the trade fair coughed and said, "All right, since no one wants to trade for the good fortune pill, let's move on and continue the trade." Not long after, someone else took out an item and went up to shout. Not long after, it was Wang Lin's turn. He took out a small bottle and said, "1 drop of this mysterious liquid is equivalent to 1 spirit gathering pill. There are about 100 drops in here. I'll only trade for the chant after the 3rd level of qi condensation." He opened the bottle and a light aura floated out. Many people were tempted. After all, the spirit gathering pill was a finished product. Although it contained spiritual energy, it could only be taken orally. However, this liquid was different. If it was used to refine pills, it would definitely have miraculous effects. It could even be used to refine magic treasures and flying swords to increase its spirituality. Someone immediately shouted, "I'll trade with you for the chant for the 4th level of qi condensation." Wang Lin raised his eyebrows and said, "Only the 4th level? I'll trade the chant for the 4th, 5th, and 6th levels for your mysterious liquid. How about it?" Someone else shouted. Wang Lin pondered for a while and shook his head. "I want all the incantations from level 3 to 15. Junior brother, aren't you just making things difficult for us?" Last year's competition, the strongest disciple in the sect was 2nd elder brother Insolent, but he was only at the 6th level of qi condensation. He only has the mnemonic for the 7th, 8th, and 9th levels. Other than some of the sect uncles, no one else has the mnemonic for the 10th to 15th levels. Wang Lin was taken aback and hesitated for a moment. At this moment, a voice suddenly came from not far away. "If you have 200 drops of this liquid, I can give you all the incantations from 4 to 9. Everyone looked over and saw a purple-robed man walking over from Small Path. He was about 29 years old and had a cold expression on his face. He didn't use a shape-shifting voice pill. After he arrived, his gaze swept across the area, and everyone was instantly frightened out of their wits. "Greetings, 2nd senior brother." The purple-robed man didn't pay attention to them. He stared at Wang Lin and said, "Do you have 200 drops?" Wang Lin's heart tightened and his pupils shrank. The aura this person emitted gave him a very dangerous feeling. It was far more dangerous than anyone he had seen in the Hangyu sect. Whether it was his master Sun Daju or senior brother Zhang, none of them could compare to this person. Wang Lin respectfully said, "I obtained this liquid by chance. Aside from these 100 drops, I still have a few dozen drops for myself. I don't have that many." The purple-robed man pondered for a bit, then threw out a jade slip and said, "Fine, give me the rest of the liquid and the chant is yours." Wang Lin caught it and scanned it with his divine sense. After confirming there was no mistake, he took out a small bottle from his bag of holding and gently placed it on the ground. He didn't approach the purple-robed man. The purple-robed man glanced at Wang Lin. Without saying a word, he grabbed the 2 bottles and put them in his pocket. He scanned them with his divine sense and said, "If you get this liquid again, you can come find me in the back mountains. Whether it's the pill of fortune, flying swords, jade talismans, or even the chant for the 10th layer of chi condensation, I have a way to get them." With that, he waved his sleeves and left. Wang Lin's eyes narrowed and a cold light flashed. The words the purple-robed man said before he left were too vicious. If it was someone else, they wouldn't be able to hear the hidden meaning, but Wang Lin had been smart since he was young. He knew many things, he just didn't say them out loud. The hidden meaning behind the purple-robed man's words was that no matter who it was, they could come to him to exchange for anything. One sentence pushed Wang Lin to the edge of danger. Although he couldn't see the gazes of the others, he felt as if there were needles on his back. It was obvious that someone was secretly watching him. However, ever since Wang Lin decided to take out the spiritual energy spring water, he had already calculated the possible problems that could occur. He didn't panic and calmly looked around. Everyone continued to trade for a bit until the trade fair ended. Some people were happy that they had traded for something they liked, while others were depressed that they didn't. Everyone had different thoughts and left. Wang Lin didn't leave with Wang Hao. Instead, he secretly stuck dozens of immortal talismans on his legs. Like a sharp sword, he shot out and disappeared without a trace. Wang Hao was a quick-witted person. Seeing Wang Lin act like this, how could he not understand? He immediately followed suit, sticking immortal talismans on his legs and flying away. Looking at the other disciples who had revealed their treasures at the trade fair, they all did the same. Without a word, they hurriedly left. There were a few inner sect disciples who had bad intentions towards the mysterious liquid that Wang Lin had revealed. However, they were startled by Wang Lin's sudden speed. They wanted to chase after him, but they couldn't see his shadow. They all cursed and left. Some of the disciples with high cultivation bases couldn't openly chase after him. After all, this was a trade fair between inner sect disciples. If someone killed someone and stole something, once the other party's master found out, they wouldn't let it go easily. As Wang Lin ran, he constantly stuck immortal talismans on his legs. The speed increased by the immortal talismans could be stacked. With dozens of immortal talismans, his speed was extremely fast. Not long after, he returned to the sect. What he feared the most was the purple-robed man. After returning to the sect, he didn't immediately go to the chore department. Instead, he carefully hid in an empty room. When the sky gradually brightened, the transformation and voice transformation pill lost its effect and revealed its true appearance. Only then did he carefully walk out. Luckily, he didn't find anything strange along the way. After returning to the chore department, Wang Lin immediately went into seclusion to cultivate, no longer caring about anything else. Chapter 34. With the chant to reach the 9th layer, Wang Lin felt at ease and began to live in seclusion. Time passed day by day. The entire Hung Yu sect was filled with tension. All the inner disciples were preparing for the competition at the end of the year. Once they entered the top 10, they would be able to obtain treasures, pills, spirit stones, and jade talismans. What made them even more jealous was that the sect head had taken out the sect's treasure, the double moon bracelet, as the reward for first place. The double moon bracelet was originally a relic from 300 years ago. It was very powerful and was a rare treasure that could be used for both offense and defense. Therefore, all the inner disciples secretly sharpened their fists and mustered up their energy. As for the newcomer competition, there were only a few new inner disciples this year. In everyone's eyes, Wang Zhu would undoubtedly become the newcomer king. On the other side, the nominal disciples were even more hostile to each other. For them, the nominal disciple competition represented the turning point of their lives, and everyone was secretly making the final preparations. All of this tension had nothing to do with Wang Lin. He spent all day cultivating and practicing the attraction technique. The day before the end of the month, he walked out of the chore house and went straight to the main courtyard. He had already mastered the technique to hide his aura. With a thought, the spiritual energy in his body was naturally hidden, creating the illusion that he hadn't reached the first layer of chi condensation. He felt that there were too many people in the chore house, and it wasn't suitable for cultivation, so he wanted to find a reason to go down the mountain and find a quiet place to cultivate. After arriving at the main courtyard, he strode in. Not long after, he arrived outside Sun Deju's herb garden and respectfully said, "Disciple Wang Lin requests to see Master." "What are you doing here?" The door to the herb garden wasn't open. Sun Daju's impatient voice came from inside. Obviously, he didn't like this disciple. Wang Lin's expression was normal. He respectfully said, "Disciple's cultivation is not high enough. I don't think I can win tomorrow's competition. I don't want to lose Master's face, so I don't want to participate." "Humph, at least you know what's good for you." This time, your martial uncle Dao, Su's disciple, Wang Zhua, has already reached the peak of the first layer of qi condensation at such a young age. He can break through to the second layer at any time. Even if you go, it's useless. He can crush you with one finger. I heard that you guys are relatives. Why is the gap between you two so big?" Sun Daju sneered. Wang Lin didn't mind and said, "Wang Zhua has been smart since he was young, and his spirit root is abundant. This disciple can't compare to him." "Have you found the gore in the past 6 months?" Sun Daju asked after a short silence. Wang Lin shook his head and revealed a distressed expression. He said, "This is strange. I've been to the spring many times, but I've never seen a gourd float down again. Is there anything else? If there's nothing else, then scram. I get angry when I see you," Sun Daju coldly said. When he saw this disciple, he couldn't control his temper. He wanted to slap him to death so that he wouldn't be laughed at by his peers. Wang Lin lowered his head and said respectfully, "Master, it's too boring on the mountain. I want to go down the mountain and come back after the new year. What do you think? Go down the mountain?" "No. If you didn't mention it, I wouldn't have thought about it. In 4 years is the competition against the Xiandao sect. This time, the head of the sect has given the order that most of the inner sect disciples will undergo 4 years of training after the new year. You should also participate so that you don't lose face during the competition and ruin my reputation." Sun Daju immediately refused and said, "Training session?" Wang Lin was startled. Every 20 years, this is a rule that has been in place for hundreds of years. The Xiandao sect and the Hengyu sect seem to be friendly on the surface, but they are secretly competing. In the last 100 years, the Hengyu sect and the Xiandao sect have all lost each other. This is too shameful, so there is this training session. Listen carefully. If you don't achieve anything in this training session and embarrass me during the competition in 4 years, I will kick you out of the Hengyu sect, no matter what." Sun Deju didn't want to explain too much, so he just said it in a few words. Wang Lin secretly sighed. Going outside to train was obviously impossible. Seeing that Sun Daju's tone was not friendly, he nodded and left. Returning to the chore house, Wang Lin pondered for a while. Since he couldn't go outside to train, he would take advantage of this training session to find an opportunity to train. The next day, the intersect competition began. The scene was very lively. Wang Lin hesitated for a bit and didn't go watch. Instead, he took advantage of the time to cultivate and consolidate his cultivation of the second layer. In the next few days, through chatting with the honorary disciples, Wang Lin found out that senior apprentice Brother Zhang won first place in the intersect competition, but he heard that it was because there were no purple-clothed disciples participating. As for Wang Zhua, he became the new disciple king. He became very arrogant and didn't put other people his age in his eyes. A week later, in the morning, the bell echoed in the Hengyu sect. It rang a total of 5 times, which meant that all the inner disciples must quickly gather in the sect's main hall. Wang Lin, who was in the dream space, didn't hear it. It wasn't until Sun Deju kicked open the chore house door that he woke up. He quickly put away the bead, hid his cultivation, and pushed open the door. Sun Daju's face was full of anger. He shouted at Wang Lin, "Wang Lin, are you deaf? Didn't you hear the bell? You evil disciple. All the inner disciples participating in the training are here except for you. You made me feel ashamed in front of my fellow apprentices. You made me angry." Wang Lin raised his eyebrows, but he didn't say anything. Sun Dazhu fiercely stared at Wang Lin. He knew that this was not the time to teach his disciple a lesson. The sect head and his fellow apprentices were all waiting, so without saying anything, he grabbed Wang Lin, stepped on a rainbow-colored cloud, and quickly flew into the sky. With the fastest speed he could muster, he arrived outside the main hall of the main courtyard. He threw Wang Lin on the ground and shouted, "Wang Lin, follow me in. If you continue to embarrass me, even if I have to face the sect head's punishment, I'll kill you with one palm." With the last sentence, Sun Dazhu's eyes were filled with killing intent. He hated this disciple to the extreme. He made up his mind to find an opportunity to expel him from the sect. Wang Lin rubbed his arm. If it wasn't for the fact that he had reached the second layer of qi condensation and his body was much stronger, his arm would have been broken. He lowered his head and softly said, "Disciple obeys." Sun Dazhu snorted, tidied up his clothes, and walked into the main hall. Wang Lin took a deep breath, suppressed his anger, and calmly followed in. The Hengyu sect's main hall was the grandest place in the sect. It was very spacious, with dozens of statues of the sect's ancestors on the left and right. A solemn atmosphere enveloped the inside. After Wang Lin walked in with Sun Dazhu, dozens of eyes immediately focused on him. He immediately felt it was difficult to breathe. He looked around and quickly lowered his head. Chapter 35. There were more than 40 inner disciples standing in the main hall. There were black, white, and red robes, but no one was wearing purple. These disciples were all very respectful and had serious expressions on their faces. Among them, there were a lot of faces that Wang Lin was familiar with. Wang Zhua, the girl named Su, the girl named Zhou, Brother Zhang, and so on. In front of them, there were more than 10 elders sitting on either side. All of them had cold expressions on their faces. In the middle sat a person about 40 years old. He was wearing a blue robe and had a celestial aura. His eyes were like lightning as he calmly said, "Brother Sun, is this your disciple?" Sun Dazhu quickly put on a smile and said, "Head of the sect, this kid is my disciple, Wang Lin. He entered the sect late and doesn't know what it means to ring the bell 5 times. Indeed, like master, like disciple. Junior Brother Sun, your disciple is so silly, just like you in the past." A red-faced old man sitting on the right side of the table said mockingly. Another elder laughed and said, "Brother Sun, that's not right. Brother Sun was very talented back then and is much stronger than his disciple." Sun Dazhu's face turned red and white. He turned around and glared at Wang Lin. He snorted and was too lazy to refute. He walked to the empty seat on the left and sat down. The blue-robed man frowned. He coldly looked at Wang Lin and ignored him. He said, "I have already said that this training must be effective. In the competition with the Xiandao sect in 4 years, we must not lose. From today onwards, you will all enter the back mountain. Everyone will have their own cultivation area. Go into closed-door cultivation and increase your cultivation. The sect will provide 10,000 qi gathering pills for you to use. During this time, you're not allowed to leave the back mountain. Do you all remember?" All of the inner disciples replied in unison. The blue-robed man nodded and continued, "I hope that 4 years from now, there will be someone among you wearing purple. Purple represents the core disciples of the Hengyu sect, far superior to the inner disciples. Forget it. You can experience the pros and cons yourself. I will now send you to the back mountain, and someone will arrange a place for you to cultivate." With that said, the blue-robed man waved his sleeve, and a white light shot out from it. After circling around the hall, the man shouted in a low voice, "Open." The white light expanded infinitely and turned into a light screen in the blink of an eye, enveloping all the inner sect disciples. "Go!" With a shout from the blue-robed man, the light screen flickered and disappeared from the hall. A warm feeling spread through Wang Lin's body, and his vision blurred. When his vision cleared, he was surprised to find that he was standing in a valley. The spiritual energy here was much denser than outside, and the sound of running water could be heard in the distance. He swept the surroundings with his gaze and noticed that all the inner court disciples revealed surprised expressions, and they ceaselessly sized up the surroundings. There were no plants in the valley, only a huge barren cliff. The cliff was densely packed with holes that looked like a beehive, some of which were sealed off by giant rocks. Suddenly, Wang Lin noticed that someone was staring at him. He turned his head and saw Wang Zhuo looking at him with a sneer and a look of disdain. At that moment, a young man flew out from a hole in the cliff. The young man was wearing a purple robe. He coldly looked at everyone and said, "Fellow disciples, this is the back mountain of the Hengyu sect. Although it's called the back mountain, it's not really behind the Hengyu mountain. 500 years ago, several nascent soul stage ancestors worked together to create a cultivation area for inner sect disciples. The spiritual energy here is much denser than outside. Since you are here, you must seize every moment to cultivate. Don't slack off, or else don't blame me for throwing you out of the back mountain." Wang Lin recognized this purple-robed young man. He was the second senior disciple who traded him the spiritual energy spring water, Zhang Quan. It was said that he had reached the 6th layer of qi condensation and was unfathomable. Wang Lin slightly lowered his head. He knew how cunning Zhang Quan was. With just a few words, Zhang Quan had put him in crisis. "I have the chant for the 7th layer and below. If you don't have the chant, you can ask me for it. After I check it, I will give it to you. As for your cultivation area, you can choose any of the caves that have not been closed by the boulder. Here are the spirit gathering pills. Each bottle has 50 pills, and you will be replenished once a year." After Zhang Quan finished speaking, he waved his hand, and 50 white bottles appeared on the ground. At this moment, inner sect disciples walked out one by one. They silently picked up a bottle and looked for a cultivation area to enter. Wang Lin took a deep breath. He secretly thought that if he used the shape and voice transformation pill, Zhang Quan wouldn't be able to recognize him. So he walked out and picked up the bottle. Zhang Quan stood to the side and watched the inner sect disciples walk by. When he saw Wang Lin, his expression suddenly became strange, and he said, "What is your name? How come you haven't even reached the 1st layer of qi condensation? Who is your master?" Wang Lin stopped and turned around. He respectfully said, "Senior brother, I am Wang Lin. My master is Sun Dezhu. Perhaps it is due to my lack of talent, but I still haven't reached the 1st layer." Zhang Quan was startled. Then he smiled and said, "You are Wang Lin? I've heard of you. Talent is important, but perseverance is also the key to cultivation. Since your talent is lacking, you must work harder." Wang Lin quickly agreed. "Forget it, this cliff is too high. You haven't even reached the 1st layer, so I don't think you can reach it. Let me give you a ride." Zhang Quan waved his sleeve, and suddenly a force appeared under Wang Lin's feet. After he arrived at the entrance of a cave, the force disappeared. Wang Lin respectfully thanked Zhang Quan, then turned around and walked into the cave. His expression immediately became gloomy. If it wasn't for what happened back then, he would have thought that this second senior brother was an amiable person. Unfortunately, he already knew what kind of person he was, so he naturally wouldn't take this small favor to heart. The cave wasn't very large, and there was only a stone bed. There was also a handle on the wall. Wang Lin looked at it for a while, then reached out and pulled. Suddenly, a rumbling sound could be heard as a huge stone wall slowly descended from the top of the cave. Finally, with a bang, it completely sealed the cave. After carefully inspecting the cave and confirming that there was nothing strange, Wang Lin was very satisfied with this place. Back when he had gone to find Sun Dezhu, he had originally planned to find an excuse to leave the sect and find a place to cultivate. Although he had been rejected, now it seemed that his original plan was no different. The only bad thing was that there was no water source in the cave. Wang Lin's cultivation mainly relied on spiritual energy liquid. However, he had accumulated quite a bit of snow water in his bag of holding. It should be enough to last him for a while. Also, he had heard the sound of running water in the valley. As long as he was careful, the problem of a water source wouldn't be difficult to solve. Chapter 36. Having reached this point, he took out the mysterious pearl and began his first session of secluded meditation. Time flew by, and in the blink of an eye, 2 years had passed. During those 2 years, besides practicing breathing exercises, Wang Lin practiced the gravity technique. He didn't feel lonely at all. Although he said it had been 2 years, if he counted the time he spent in the dreamland, he had actually been in secluded meditation for nearly a year in Serene. The density of the spiritual energy here was something he had experienced firsthand. Although it couldn't compare to the spiritual energy spring water, every time he practiced breathing exercises in the real world, the density of the spiritual energy was many times higher than in the outside world. Starting from the second level of qi condensation, cultivation slowed down. 6 years ago, he reached his limit in the dreamland. When he sensed that the spiritual energy was no longer increasing, he began to attempt to break through. After a few tries, he succeeded in entering the third level. But what he didn't understand was that in the 7 years after the dreamland, even though he had reached the peak of the third level, no matter how much he tried to open the mnemonic for the fourth level, he couldn't succeed. It wasn't that he didn't have enough spiritual energy, but that there was some mysterious power that kept preventing him from entering the fourth level. Furthermore, the third level of qi condensation was very strange. It wasn't like the first 2 levels. Once you reach your limit, if you didn't enter the next level, the spiritual energy wouldn't continue to gather. The third level seemed limitless. Even though Wang Lin felt like he had reached the peak, as he continued breathing exercises, the spiritual energy continued to increase, and his body was constantly being transformed by the spiritual energy. If it weren't for the fact that his body still felt like it was at the third level of qi condensation, Wang Lin would have thought he had already broken through to the fourth level. This surprised Wang Lin, and he couldn't figure it out. That day, he used up all of the spiritual energy snow water. The only thing left in his bag of holding was the gourd. It had been there for a long time, and was one of the 3 he had buried when he first arrived on the mountain. He had used 2 of them to make the 10th cloud appear on the mysterious pearl. Later, he had almost died from drinking a mouthful of it. He was afraid of the dew in the gourd, and kept it in his bag of holding. After a moment's hesitation, Wang Lin didn't take out the gourd. According to his analysis, the spiritual energy in the gourd had already reached a terrifying level. Having learned his lesson, he decided to be more cautious. It wouldn't be too late to use it when his qi condensation level was higher. He stood up, stretched his body, and pulled the handle on the wall. Immediately, a rumbling sound rang out, and the stone wall slowly rose, revealing the entrance of the cave. The sunlight shone into the cave, and Wang Lin found it a bit dazzling. It took a long time for the sunlight to return to normal. Only then did he walk out and take a deep breath. Looking down, there were many people sitting in meditation and chatting in the valley. Clearly, they had been in seclusion for a long time and could not stand the boredom, so they came out to relieve their boredom. After muttering to himself for a moment, he concealed his cultivation to the first level of qi condensation. He flicked his sleeves, and a propulsive force rose from under his feet, gently lifting his body up and slowly descending. During his time in the dreamland, Serene had already perfected the gravitational art. He didn't need to use any incantations. With just a thought, the gravitational art would automatically appear. For example, he was using the gravity spell to control his body. Although this could be done when the gravity spell reached a certain level, the speed was extremely slow. Once he sped up, he would definitely lose control. But right now, Wang Lin was confident that even if he flew at high speed, he would not lose control. This was something that could not be done without 10 years of practice. But who would be so bored as to spend 10 years practicing a basic celestial art? Cultivators were always racing against time, and no one was willing to waste time. If they had the time, they might as well use it to practice some high-level celestial arts. In order to not attract attention, Wang Lin slowly descended into the valley. As soon as he landed, he heard a mocking voice. The sun really rose from the west. The trash Wang Lin actually managed to cultivate to the first level of qi condensation. This time, he can finally get down from the cliff without anyone's help. Wang Lin turned his head and looked at Wang Zhuo, who had a look of disdain on his face. There were several people sitting next to Wang Zhuo, all of whom were inner disciples. One of them was a young man in white, about 24-25 years old. He sneered and said, "Wang Lin, You really shouldn't have come here. You could have just stayed in the chore department and mingled with the notary disciples. You could have felt so high and mighty. But now, you're the weakest of us all. Wang Lin scanned them with his divine sense. Wang Zhua was the same as him, at the third level of qi condensation. As for the young man in white, he was at the peak of the fourth level and could break through at any time. He was confused. He was clearly at the third level of qi condensation, so how could he easily see through people with higher cultivation bases than him? Furthermore, the young man in white's spiritual energy seemed to be a bit weaker than his own. Wang Lin was silent for a moment, but didn't say anything. He felt that there was something fishy about this. Wang Lin, said Wang Zhua disdainfully, you knew you weren't a match for me 2 years ago, so you gave up. But let me tell you, trash will always be trash. There's no way you can compare to me, Wang Zhua. I was the newcomer king 2 years ago. Do you think you can? The white-robed young man next to him sneered, little junior brother, go get me some water from the riverbank. When I'm in a good mood, maybe I'll give you a shot. With that, he tossed out a bottle, which landed at Wang Lin's feet. Wang Lin didn't say a word. He just stared at the white-robed young man. What's the meaning of this? You want to fight? Let me tell you, second senior brother said that inner sect disciples in the back mountains are allowed to fight. If you don't know what's good for you, then don't blame senior brother for teaching you a lesson. Enough. All of you shut your mouths. A cold shout rang out from the cliff, and a black blur shot out like lightning. It was senior brother Zhang, frowning as he looked over the crowd. Wang Zhua, son Hao, he barked, why aren't you two cultivating? Are you here bullying a junior brother who's only at the first level of qi condensation? What's so interesting about that? Their expressions flickered, and they viciously glared at Wang Lin. Then they snorted and didn't say anything. Clearly, they were afraid of this senior brother Zhang. Senior brother Zhang's gaze turned to Wang Lin. He sternly said, Wang Lin, you really shouldn't have come here. But since you're here, you should focus on cultivating. In the cultivation world, strength decides everything. Wang Lin nodded. After a moment of hesitation, he asked, Senior brother Zhang, I have a question I'd like to ask. After reaching the peak of the first level of qi condensation, why is it that no matter how I try, I'm unable to break through? Wang Zhua snorted. With your talent, don't even think about reaching the second level. Chapter 37. Senior apprentice brother Zhang coldly looked at Wang Zhua and said, the key to breaking through has a lot to do with talent. Some people can succeed on their first try, while others need hundreds or thousands of tries. Some people can't even break through their entire lives. Wang Lin revealed a sad expression and suddenly asked, Senior apprentice brother Zhang, is every breakthrough this difficult? 2 to 3, 3 to 4? Are they all like this? Senior apprentice brother Zhang nodded and said, that's right. The further you go, the harder it gets. Especially 3 to 4, 5 to 6, it's even more difficult. Senior apprentice brother Zhang's answer attracted many disciples from afar. Suddenly, a woman asked, Senior apprentice brother, what's so difficult about 3 to 4? I'm currently at the third level of qi condensation. Wang Lin recognized the person who spoke. It was the girl named Zhou that Wang Zhua had been pursuing. Senior apprentice brother Zhang pondered for a moment and said, fine, today I'll take this opportunity to explain the bottleneck of qi condensation in detail. Below the 6th level, there are 2 bottlenecks. The first is 3 to 4. For some people, this bottleneck is easy to pass, but for others, it's impossible to break through in their lifetime. The key has nothing to do with talent. The key is whether or not you can understand the meaning of the phrase, the great Tao is heartless. With that, he gave everyone a meaningful look and continued, cultivators must sever their ties with the mortal world. If they can sever it, then it won't be difficult to advance from 3 to 4. But if they can't, then it will be difficult. As for the bottleneck from 5 to 6, that's because it's a qualitative change in the qi condensation stage. The body has been transformed by spiritual energy, and a series of deeper changes will occur. The amount of spiritual energy required is too great, so it becomes a bottleneck that prevents most people from advancing. After hearing this, Wang Lin's heart trembled, and he remained silent. The other disciples all had different expressions. They continued to ask a few more questions. It wasn't until the sky darkened that the crowd dispersed. Wang Lin frowned and walked into the valley. The sound of running water became louder and louder. Not long after, a small river appeared in front of him. A faint trace of spiritual energy was emitted from the river. Wang Lin scooped it up and drank a mouthful. Although it was not as good as the spiritual energy spring water, it could still increase his spiritual energy. Thus, without saying a word, he took out gourds and filled them with river water. After a long time, he finally finished filling all the gourds. He had just turned around when his pupils immediately constricted because he saw second senior brother Zhang Kuang standing not too far behind him like a ghost. When he had been filling the river water, he had been observing his surroundings with his divine sense. He had not found anything out of the ordinary, but the other party had obviously been here for a long time. Wang Lin's heart sank. Zhang Kuang's eyes flashed as he said in a deep voice, "Junior brother Wang, this river contains spiritual energy. Drinking more of it will be good for your cultivation. However, I see that you prepared quite a few gourds. Could it be that you knew they would be useful here before you came to the valley?" Wang Lin calmly put away the gourd in his hand and respectfully said, "My master told me that the river water here is helpful for cultivation, so I've prepared quite a few." Zhang Kuang stared at Wang Lin for a long time. After a long time, he nodded and said, "It's normal for Uncle Master's son to know about this. Go back and cultivate. To be able to reach the first level of qi condensation in 2 short years, it seems that junior brother has made up his mind. Very good. I hope that the next time I see you, you will have reached the 2nd level." Wang Lin clasped his hands and left carefully. After returning to the cave, he let out a sigh of relief. The clothes on his back were soaked with sweat. Luckily, he had developed a habit of hiding his cultivation level. Otherwise, if Zhang Kuang found out that he was at the 3rd level of qi condensation, he would definitely be suspicious. If that happened, with his current strength, even if he was killed, he wouldn't be able to fight back. Cultivators are actually the same as mortals. We all have our own desires. Sometimes the world is even crueler than the mortal world. So I can't let anyone know that I have the mysterious bead. Wang Lin secretly warned himself. After pulling the handle on the wall and sealing the cave, Wang Lin sat cross-legged on the ground and began to ponder. Logically speaking, cultivators cut off all worldly desires in order to prevent themselves from having any desires that would affect their cultivation. However, ever since he entered the Hengyu sect, most of the cultivators he had seen were unable to truly cut off all worldly desires. Instead, they were many times more lustful than mortals. As a result, the so-called cutting off all worldly desires was only a vague concept. But to advance from the 3rd level to the 4th level, according to senior brother Zhang, he had to cut off all worldly desires. This was somewhat contradictory. After thinking for a long time, he still couldn't figure it out. Wang Lin admitted that he couldn't cut off his family ties. Luckily, the 3rd level of qi condensation was different from the first 2 levels. Although he couldn't break through, his spiritual energy would still increase. After thinking for a long time, he gave up on the idea of breaking through in a short period of time and focused on consolidating the 3rd level. Time passed quickly. 1 year, 2 years, before he knew it, another 2 years had passed. Wang Lin had already been in closed-door training for 4 years. In the next 2 years, Wang Lin only went out once. It was to replenish the river water and soak the bead in it to cultivate. 4 years in the real world was 25 years in the dream world. Including the time before, Wang Lin had actually been cultivating for 27 or 28 years. He was still stuck at the 3rd level and hadn't broken through. However, the spiritual energy in his body was still growing. Today was the last day of the 4 years of training. Early in the morning, an arrogant voice could be heard from outside. "Fellow junior brothers, the 4 years are up. Hurry up and come out. The sect leader is currently in the main hall of the sect, summoning you back." All of the caves on the cliffs opened, and the inner sect disciples walked out one by one. More than 40 people had all gained something in these 4 years of closed-door training. Standing in the valley, Wang Lin spread out his divine sense. Wang Zhua had already reached the peak of the 5th level of qi condensation and was about to enter the 6th level. As for the others, there were also a few who were at the same level. In these 4 years, everyone had made progress. The woman named Su had also reached the 3rd level of qi condensation. As for elder brother Zhang, Wang Lin took a closer look. He was at the 6th level of qi condensation. Vaguely, he had a feeling that his cultivation was different from the others. As for elder brother Zhang, Wang Lin took a closer look. He was at the 6th level of qi condensation. Also, the girl named Zhou said 2 years ago that she had reached the 3rd layer of qi condensation, but Wang Lin found that she was still at the 3rd layer. The amount of spiritual energy in her body hadn't increased at all. Wang Lin had a guess in his heart. Other people didn't seem to be like him, where the 3rd layer had no limit. Or perhaps he had already broken through to the 3rd level. Wang Lin's heart pounded wildly, but he suppressed the thought. Chapter 38. After a detailed analysis, Wang Lin felt that it had something to do with his cultivation in the dream world. He had experienced the mysterious bead's power over the past few years. Especially every time he cultivated in the dream world, he could feel the glowing object around him emitting a strange light that drilled into his body. Wang Lin had studied this light for a long time, but he still didn't know what it did. Wang Lin no longer used the cultivation technique to hide his cultivation level. He laughed at himself and thought that using 4 years to reach the 3rd level of qi condensation in the back mountain, where there was plenty of spiritual energy, could be explained. No one knew that 20 years ago in the dreamland, he had already reached the 3rd level. As for the attraction spell, he had persisted in practicing it every day for more than 20 years. Unknowingly, he had reached a terrifying level. In the entire cultivation world of the country of Zhao, no one could spend more than 20 years practicing the attraction spell, the most basic cultivation technique. At this moment, a white light silently appeared in the sky and enveloped everyone. The warm feeling reappeared, but this time, Wang Lin found something different. The light flashed with strange symbols. These symbols gathered together to form a constantly spinning whirlpool that quickly pulled everyone into it. Everyone disappeared from the valley. The moment Wang Lin left, he took a deep breath. There was an urge in his body that wanted to explode. His right hand formed a seal, and the attraction spell suddenly spread out. All of the stone walls on the cliff suddenly began to fall down with a loud rumble. Zhang Kuang's expression changed. He stared blankly at the scene in front of him, not knowing what had happened. At this moment, Wang Lin had already walked into the light with a smile on his face. When he reappeared, he was in the main hall of the Hongyu sect. The sect leader was still wearing his blue robe. He sat at the front, and on both sides of him sat several elders. The moment they appeared, several powerful divine senses swept over them. The sect leader nodded with a smile and said, "For years have passed in the blink of an eye. I'm very pleased to see that all of you have made great progress. Very good. Disciples who have cultivated to the 5th layer and above, stay here. The rest of you are dismissed. Find your masters and report your gains in the past 4 years. 3 days from now, the Xiandao sect will come. This time, my Hongyu sect will definitely win. As for changing clothes when your cultivation levels are high enough, wait until the exchange with the Xiandao sect is over." Everyone replied in unison, and disciples below the 5th level of qi condensation left the main hall. Wang Lin looked around, but did not find Sun Dezhu. After leaving the main hall, Wang Lin arrived outside of Sun Dezhu's herb garden. He scanned the garden with his divine sense and found that the restriction on the garden didn't have the slightest effect. Wang Lin's divine sense entered the garden and immediately found Sun Dezhu sitting cross-legged in the garden. Sun Dezhu was completely unaware of Wang Lin's divine sense. The restriction that terrified him before was now full of flaws. Wang Lin had a vague feeling that if he wanted to break this restriction, it wouldn't be difficult. Wang Lin withdrew his divine sense and said, "Disciple Wang Lin greets Master." After Sun Dezhu heard this, he was startled for a moment. He thought for a long time before remembering that 4 years ago, he had accepted a disciple named Wang Lin. After that, Wang Lin went to participate in the training. Today was the day that Wang Lin and Sun Daju finished their training. Out of curiosity, he opened the door of the herb garden and arrogantly said, "Come in." Wang Lin walked in. Sun Daju carefully looked at Wang Lin and said, surprised, "You have reached the third layer of qi condensation?" Wang Lin nodded and respectfully said, "Disciple has bitterly trained in the valley for 4 years and was lucky enough to reach the third layer." Sun Daju's eyes lit up. He gradually remembered why he accepted Wang Lin as his disciple. He remembered that he had decided to use the soul-searching technique on Wang Lin when he reached the first layer of qi condensation. After hesitating for a bit, he gave up on the idea of using the soul-searching technique. After all, it had been so many years. "Fine, since you have reached the third layer of qi condensation, you are my, Sun Daju's, true disciple. You're the only disciple I have accepted in my life. From now on, you can come live here with me. In a few days, there will be a big event with the Xian Dao sect's inner disciples. You can come with me and broaden your horizons. By the way, since you are at the third layer of qi condensation, have you practiced the attraction technique?" Sun Daju looked at Wang Lin and asked. Wang Lin's expression was normal. He said, "Disciple has practiced the attraction technique before, but it feels a bit rough." Sun Daju nodded and said, "Of course. To put it bluntly, this kind of basic immortal technique depends on proficiency. The more you practice, the better you will be. Back then, I practiced for almost a year. It can be said that I practiced for the longest time in the sect." With that said, he waved his hand, and a small sword shining with 7-colored light appeared out of thin air. It emitted a cold light and quickly circled around before finally falling into Sun Daju's palm. After you practice the attraction technique and reach the second layer, you can practice the telekinesis technique. This flying sword relies on the telekinesis technique. Of course, to reach this level, you must be at least at the fourth layer of qi condensation. But now that the Xian Dao sect competition is around the corner, I can't let others see me as a joke. Your cultivation is low, so the chances of you going up on stage are low, but you can't let me down. You can use the attraction technique to control a bit of this flying sword. I'll give you a token. Take it to the Sword Spirit Pavilion and find a good-looking flying sword. Hang it on your body and show off." After Sun Daju finished speaking, he threw a token at Wang Lin. Wang Lin's expression suddenly became strange. He opened his mouth for a long time, but didn't know what to say. Seeing Wang Lin's strange expression, Sun Daju snorted and said, "Don't think this is a small matter. Remember to find a good-looking one. Otherwise, if you embarrass me, I won't forgive you when you come back. Back then, I was like this. I hung a flying sword on my body and gave your ancestor a lot of face." Wang Lin bitterly smiled and said, "Disciple will definitely find one that looks good. Master, don't worry." Chapter 39. Sun Daju nodded with satisfaction and said, "You can keep the token. You can enter and leave the herb garden freely. But remember, without my permission, you can't touch any of the herbs in the garden. Understand?" Wang Lin nodded. He knew that Sun Daju didn't like him. Now that he had reached the third level of qi condensation, he more or less accepted him as his disciple. Wang Lin respectfully excused himself. Not long after, he arrived at the Sword Spirit Pavilion. He had been here a long time ago. Now that he was back, the memories of the past resurfaced in his mind. Sitting cross-legged outside the Sword Spirit Pavilion was a disciple in his 30s. He was chubby and looked unfamiliar. Clearly, he hadn't participated in the training. He glanced at Wang Lin and said in surprise, "Junior brother, you're only at the third level of qi condensation. What are you doing here? Only cultivators of the fourth level of qi condensation and above can come here." Wang Lin didn't say anything. He took out the token Sun Daju had given him and threw it over. The fat man caught it and looked at it. His expression immediately became strange, as if he was trying to hold back his laughter. After a long time, he couldn't help but laugh out loud. He said, "So, it's a tradition of Uncle Master Sun's sect. I forgot about that. Uncle Master Sun's sect has a habit. Every time they interact with other sects, They use flying swords to keep up appearances. Wang Lin felt very embarrassed, especially when he thought of Sun Daju's serious expression. He smiled bitterly. The fatty laughed for a long time, then waved his hand and suppressed his laughter. He said, "Junior brother, you can go in. I suggest you choose the third sword from the right. That flying sword is amazing. When I first came here, I thought I had encountered the most powerful flying sword in the state of Zhao." Wang Lin quickly thanked him and walked forward. When he was about 15 feet away, he suddenly raised his eyebrows. His divine sense detected a ripple spreading out from the room, as if it was trying to stop him from moving forward. When the fatty saw this, he knew that he had forgotten to turn off the Sword Spirit Pavilion's restriction. He was about to ask Wang Lin to wait for a while, but before he could say anything, it was as if a fish bone was stuck in his throat. He held it in for a long time and couldn't say a word. His eyes suddenly widened, revealing a strong look of disbelief. When Wang Lin sensed the resistance, he couldn't help but recall the humiliation he had suffered in the past. He snorted and strode forward. 15 meters, 12 meters, 9 meters, 6 meters, 1 meter. No matter how strong the resistance was, it could not stop Wang Lin's footsteps. He walked in with extreme ease. After entering the room, his divine sense swept out and his heart stirred. This room was very strange. His divine sense seemed to have lost its effect and was limited to a radius of 30 feet. The fatty immediately jumped up with a shocked expression on his face. He was the disciple in charge of the Sword Spirit Pavilion, so he knew the power of the formation prohibition here. It was specially designed to isolate all divine senses. He had once seen a few martial uncles unable to force their way into the pavilion, not to mention the inner sect disciples. Only when recruiting disciples would the power of the formation prohibition be reduced by countless times. From there, the sword chi in the Sword Spirit Pavilion would be released to select suitable disciples. Could it be that the formation prohibition is broken? The fatty couldn't believe what he saw. After thinking for a long time, he thought that the formation prohibition must be broken. Hence, he strode forward, ready to give it a try. However, just as he was about 50 feet away, a huge pressure came crashing down on him, as if the sky was collapsing. Fatty's body was like a lone boat in a raging sea, flung far away, drawing an arc in the sky. Accompanied by a few puffs of blood, he fell heavily to the ground. After a long time, he came to his senses. A look of fear appeared on his face, and he said hoarsely, "It's not broken." Wang Lin entered the room easily and looked around. He saw many ancient swords of different lengths in the room, emitting a strong sword intent. Wang Lin's gaze swept across the flying swords without stopping. Finally, he saw the most awesome flying sword in the cultivation world of the state of Zhao. After seeing it, Wang Lin was a little speechless. This could be said to be the most awesome flying sword. It couldn't even be considered a flying sword. It was more like a rectangular door. It was 2 palms wide and 3 feet long. Its entire body was shining with a golden light. Don't think that this golden light was some kind of immortal technique. This golden light was purely because the sword was covered with a layer of gold. Don't think that this gold was just a smokescreen to cover up a peerless sword. Underneath the gold was actually the most ordinary pig iron. There was nothing special about it. 2 huge diamonds were inlaid on the hilt, and even the tassel was made of golden threads. In short, this flying sword would definitely be awesome if it was taken out. It would definitely give people a feeling of invincibility. Wang Lin touched his chin. He really had high hopes for this flying sword. If he was short of money in the future, he could find a random place to sell it for a lot of money. On the flying sword, there was a sign that said, "This sword is called Riches." It was forged by a grandmaster of the sect 500 years ago. It is said that it has unfathomable power. However, in reality, this sword has been broken many times. The grandmaster made great contributions to the sect in his life. Before he died, his only words were to leave this sword in the Sword Spirit Pavilion for a fated person. Whoever chooses this sword, remember to treat it well. If it breaks, you must reattach it. Don't sell it, or you will be expelled from the sect. Wang Lin couldn't help but laugh. He grabbed the flying sword and said, "I'll choose you." Wang is poor. If you break it, don't expect me to reattach it for you. After putting the flying sword in his bag of holding, Wang Lin walked out of the Sword Spirit Pavilion. The fatty nervously looked at him. The mocking expression on his face was gone. Wang Lin's divine sense was isolated in the room, so he didn't notice the fatty's strange behavior. He felt it was strange why the fatty changed from arrogance to respect. After returning to Sun Daju's herb garden and taking out the flying sword, Sun Daju was immediately dumbfounded. He muttered to himself for a while before meaningfully looking at Wang Lin and saying, "Back then, when I saw this sword, I really didn't have the guts to carry it out." "Kid, you sure have the guts." "Good. In 3 days, bring it to the Xiandao sect and your elders to see." 3 days later, the Hengyu sect's bell rang 9 times. The sound echoed for a long time. The head of the sect, along with all the elders and disciples, all stood outside the main hall. A black dot appeared in the sky, drawing closer and closer until, shockingly, it was a 300-meter-long, 1,000-legged centipede. The centipede was pitch black, and it stood on a black cloud, rumbling like thunder as it sped toward them. All of the Hengyu sect disciples sucked in a breath of cold air. Their eyes were filled with terror. Some of the female disciples were so scared that their legs went soft. What is there to be surprised about? This centipede looks scary, but if each of you stab it, it will die for sure. The red-faced elder next to the head of the sect shouted with dissatisfaction. His voice was very loud. It was obvious that he wanted the Xiandao sect disciples on the centipede to hear him. Chapter 40. The Xiandao sect is always like this. They bully my Hengyu sect because we don't have a guardian beast. Damn it, if I have the chance, I will definitely kill this spirit beast and let them show off again. Another martial uncle said in a low voice as he stared at the centipede. The sect head coldly snorted and a purple sword light shot out from his body. It shook the sky and suddenly grew larger until it turned into a giant purple dragon. It circled above the Hengyu sect and roared at the centipede. The 1,000-legged centipede immediately stopped, not daring to move forward. At this moment, a long laugh came from the centipede. Fellow cultivator Huang Long's Purple Mountain celestial sword is rumored to contain the soul of a dragon. Seeing it now, it seems to be true. Fellow cultivator, the 20-year time limit is up again. If my Xiandao sect wins again, your Hengyu sect must keep their promise. Furthermore, you have to give me 200 flying swords as compensation. The sect head's expression remained the same. It was impossible to tell if he was happy or angry. He calmly said, "Fellow cultivator Ouyang, if the Xiandao sect wins this time, then we will do what we promised. But if we lose, then don't hesitate to give us the method to control spirit beasts." As he spoke, the purple dragon slowly dissipated, turning back into a purple flying sword and returning to the sect master Huang Long's hand. The 1,000-feet centipede began to slowly move forward again. After circling around the Hengyu sect once, it slowly descended. The inner disciples all retreated far away, creating an empty space. All the uncle masters furrowed their brows and glared angrily at their disciples. After the centipede landed, it lay on the ground motionlessly. Dozens of people jumped down from its back. Other than 3 old men, the rest were all young. There were both men and women in the Xiandao sect. It was unknown if it was to anger the Hengyu sect, but the Hengyu sect didn't have many purple-clothed disciples, so they all wore purple. What made all the Hengyu sect disciples' eyes light up was that all of these people, regardless of gender, were very handsome. The men were handsome, and the women were beautiful, especially the man and woman at the very front. The man was extraordinarily handsome and was filled with masculinity. His large sleeves fluttered in the wind, and his long hair danced in the wind. A treasured sword was strapped to his back, and the sword tassels fluttered in the wind, making him look even more valiant and formidable. In an instant, a few of the female inner disciples were completely captivated. The woman wore a violet robe and was beautiful beyond compare. Her hair cascaded down like a waterfall, and she had phoenix-like eyes and cherry lips. Her eyes shone with a captivating light, and even Wang Lin couldn't stop his heart from beating a bit faster. Heart pounding, he gave the woman a profound look, then quickly focused his mind. Seeing that the disciples all revealed looks of infatuation, one of the elders couldn't stand it anymore. He became angry and shouted, "When did the Xiandao sect learn this kind of charm technique? It is simply too despicable." The growl immediately awakened all the inner disciples, and their faces were filled with astonishment. One of the three elders laughed and said, "This must be Taoist Dao Su, right? Old man Qingulei, take a closer look. My two disciples don't practice any charm techniques, but they were born with a water spirit root. I can see that none of the Hung Yu sect disciples have a water spirit root, and all of them have a chaotic 5-element spirit root. No wonder you can't see through it." All of the Hung Yu sect elders' faces were filled with uncertainty. After a long time, the head of the sect, Huang Long, changed the topic and said, "Fellow cultivators of the Xiandao sect, let's rest here for a bit. In 3 days, we will officially start the exchange. How does that sound?" Elder Ouyang nodded with a smile and said, "Very good. My Xiandao sect has been friends with your sect for many years. Although we all have our own chips in this exchange, we shouldn't harm our relationship." Among the many elders of the Hung Yu sect, an old man walked out. His face was filled with wrinkles, and he looked very listless. He chuckled and said to Elder Ouyang, "Fellow Ouyang, it has been 20 years since we last met. Do you still remember your old friend?" Old man Ouyang laughed and said, "I saw you just now. Fellow Daoist song, this time, no matter what, I have to drink the wine you brewed again. Last time, I didn't drink enough. You're too stingy, you only took out 1 jar. Elder Song laughed and said, "It's not that I'm stingy, it's that when you drink, old man Ouyang, it's too scary. No matter how many jugs there are, it's not enough." As the two of them spoke, the other 2 elders of the Xiandao sect also found people they were familiar with. They seemed to have forgotten the unhappiness from before and began to chat. They talked about the interesting things in the cultivation world of Zhao, which opened the eyes of the disciples of the 2 sections. For example, there was a disciple from Wufeng Valley who seduced the head of the Piao Miao sect and got her pregnant. The head of the Piao Miao sect went to Wufeng Valley to seek justice and brought back a baby. Another example was a disciple from the Tian Dao sect who betrayed the sect and joined the Hehuan sect. The disciples who were close to the sect all secretly tasted the sweetness and betrayed the sect one by one. This angered the Tian Dao sect's elder to the point of issuing a kill order. Then there was the birth of a heavenly treasure. Finally, there was the Piao Miao sect's core formation master's birthday in a few months. All of the sects sent people to congratulate him, and so on. Wang Lin listened for a while and gradually had a vague impression of the cultivation world of Zhao. Just at this moment, he suddenly felt someone looking at him. He turned around and saw the girl with the single water spirit root from the Xiandao sect faintly smiling at him. Wang Lin slightly nodded and withdrew his gaze. He was secretly on guard. He didn't think he had enough charm to attract the attention of all the disciples. Lu Mei was one of the top disciples in the Xiandao sect. She was very confident in her charm technique. Normally, in the Xiandao sect, very few people in the same generation could resist her charm. However, this seemingly ordinary youth was the first to recover his consciousness. This surprised her, and she couldn't help but take a few more glances at him. However, no matter how she looked at him, he was only at the 3rd layer of qi condensation. There was nothing special about him. While the elders were chatting, the disciples of the 2 sects were also looking at each other, preparing for the competition later. Most of the Xiandao sect's disciples' strength couldn't be seen through. It was as if there was an invisible layer of fog covering their true cultivation. Wang Lin was also very surprised and became interested in the Xiandao sect. It was obvious that all of them had some kind of concealment technique, but it was clearly much better than the concealment technique. Most of the Hung Yu sect's disciples were focused on the most eye-catching male and female. They all had their own thoughts in their hearts. However, Wang Lin noticed a strange phenomenon. From the way these people looked at each other, they all seemed to have a hint of respect for the middle-aged man standing in the back. After giving that person a meaningful look, Wang Lin withdrew his gaze and lowered his head in silence. Chapter 41. The Xian Dao sect disciples were also looking at each other. They were all secretly comparing themselves, especially the sixth-layer Qi condensation disciples. In addition, Wang Zhuo's handsome appearance and fifth-layer Qi condensation also caught the attention of the Xian Dao sect disciples. They all memorized him. As for Wang Lin, who was only at the third layer, they completely ignored him. Aside from Lu Mei, no one paid any attention to him. While the elders of the two sects were talking, they were secretly observing the disciples of both sections. The more the three elders of the Xian Dao sect watched, the more happy they became. If the Hongyu sect only had these disciples, then they would definitely win this competition. However, they had secretly competed with the Hongyu sect for many years. They knew that the Hongyu sect was very cunning and would only use their trump cards at the most critical moment. For example, although there were a lot of sixth-layer disciples here, they were all unfamiliar faces. None of the disciples that participated in the last competition were here. Those people were the main focus of this competition. The head of the sect, Huang Long, scanned the Xian Dao sect disciples. He paid extra attention to the male and female with a single water spirit root. He secretly sighed in his heart. In 500 years, the Hongyu sect had fallen to this point. They had no successor and couldn't even compare to the Xian Dao sect, which was a small sect from 500 years ago. They had also lost so many matches in a row. He thought they would win this time, but the other side had two disciples with a single spirit root, which was rarely seen in the cultivation world. He couldn't help but worry about this competition. Do we really have to send out the purple-clothed disciples? But they are in a life or death situation. Suddenly, Huang Long's gaze fell on the last disciple. His expression slightly changed, and he immediately made up his mind. Forget it. Since the other side has this kind of disciple, it seems like we have to send out a core disciple. Thinking of this, his expression remained the same, and he said with a smile, "Fellow cultivator O Yang, the disciples have traveled a long way. Let them rest first. Us old fellows should have a good gathering. Come, please enter the main hall." As he spoke, he gestured with one hand and smiled at the other party. The three elders of the Xian Dao sect all smiled and followed him into the main hall. At this moment, the elders of the Hongyu sect all walked in. The last one was Elder Dao Su. He looked at the disciples of the two sects and said, "Wang Zhuo, you are responsible for entertaining the Xian Dao sect disciples. If anything goes wrong, I won't forgive you." Wang Zhuo was obviously prepared for this. He respectfully said, "Master, rest assured, disciple will carefully entertain the Xian Dao sect disciples." Uncle Dao Su smiled at the Xian Dao sect disciples and said, "Disciples of the Xian Dao sect, if you have any requests, feel free to tell Wang Zhuo. I'm getting old, so I won't hang out with you young people. You all can communicate with each other. The future cultivation world will be yours." With that, he walked into the main hall with a smile. After the elders left, the disciples of the two sects relaxed. The female disciples of the Hongyu sect immediately came to the man with the water spirit root and chatted with him. Their eyes were filled with admiration. As for the Hongyu sect disciples at the sixth layer, there were also many Xian Dao sect disciples gathered around them to discuss their experiences. As for the other disciples, they all came up to talk. Many of them surrounded the centipede that was lying motionless on the ground and exclaimed in admiration. Wang Lin's gaze swept the area. He didn't want to join in on the fun, so he walked to a corner and sat there, looking at the blue sky and white clouds. He felt very comfortable. Among the Hongyu sect disciples, there were many like Wang Lin who didn't like crowds. The girl named Zhou was one of them. She saw Wang Lin's relaxed appearance and walked over. "Brother Wang, I've been looking for a chance to congratulate you for reaching the third layer. Very few inner disciples cultivate as hard as you do." The girl named Zhou smiled. She didn't care about the dirt and sat down on the stairs. Wang Lin chuckled. He shook his head and said, "It's not like what you said. I think most people are focused on cultivating." The woman surnamed Zhou looked at the white clouds in the sky and faintly sighed. She said, "Junior apprentice Brother Wang, there is no need to belittle yourself. During the 4 years of seclusion in the back mountains, almost all of our fellow disciples frequently left seclusion, but I rarely saw you. Cultivation is a very boring matter. Junior apprentice Brother Wong, I have to tell you the truth. To reach the 3rd level in 4 years requires a great deal of willpower. Wong Lin rubbed his nose and smiled. Sister Zhou, didn't you also reach the 3rd layer? The woman surnamed Zhou sighed softly and said with melancholy, I reached the 3rd level 3 years ago, but now, all the people around me who were originally inferior to me have surpassed me. Perhaps I really can't sever the mortal world. Wang Lin was silent for a moment. Then he said, the great Tao is heartless. If you want to improve, you must cut off the mortal world. The girl named Zhou turned her head and looked at Wang Lin with her beautiful eyes. She smiled and said, Brother Wang, I can see that you've reached the peak of the 3rd layer. You can break through at any time. It won't be long before you surpass me. Wang Lin looked at her breathtakingly beautiful face and bitterly smiled. He shook his head and said, I won't be able to make a breakthrough in a short period of time. How can I cut off the mortal world just because I say so? I can't do it. The girl named Zhou was startled. She hesitated for a moment and then asked, Brother Wang, may I ask abruptly? What is it that you can't cut off the mortal world? Wang Lin shook his head and didn't answer. He couldn't help but think of his parents' aged faces. Of all virtues, filial piety is the most important. How could he cut off the kindness of his parents just because he said so? He couldn't do it. The girl named Zhou saw that Wang Lin wasn't willing to answer, so she let out a sigh and said, What I can't cut off is family. Cultivation is too cruel. Maybe I'm not suitable. Wang Lin was about to speak, but his expression suddenly changed. He turned his head and saw Wang. She was staring at him, and the girl named Zhou with a vicious look in his eyes. At this moment, Wang Zhuo's voice came from the distance. Brothers and sisters of the Xiandao sect, it was said that the 1,000-feet centipede likes to eat live beasts. You guys will be staying at the Hengyu sect for the next few days. Leave the feeding of the 1,000-feet centipede to us. I have a brother. Cultivating is just a waste of time for him. Catching wild beasts to feed is very suitable for him. The Xiandao sect disciple with a water spirit root hesitated and said, Brother Wang Zhuo, this isn't appropriate. The 1,000-feet centipede has not been tamed. If a stranger were to feed it, it would be dangerous. Wang Zhuo's expression was gentle as he said, No problem, Brother Liu. How can a cultivator stop because of danger? You guys are honored guests. Since you guys have come to the Hengyu sect, we will naturally be responsible for this chores. Chapter 42. That is indeed the case. Fellow cultivators of the Xiandao sect, leave this matter to us. Some of the inner sect disciples agreed that Wang Zhuo was right. The Xiandao sect disciples were hesitant. The man named Liu wanted to use the excuse of being an elder to refuse, but at that moment, the middle-aged man standing in the back let out a cough. The man named Liu's expression changed. He nodded and said, If that is the case, then I'll have to trouble fellow Hengyu sect disciples. Wang Zhuo had a smile on his face. He turned toward Wang Lin and loudly said, Junior brother Wang Lin, I'll leave the job of feeding the centipede to you. You have to be careful. Hearing Wang Zhuo's words, all of the Xiandao sect disciples looked at Wang Lin with a strange expression. How could they not understand what was going on? This Wang Lin must have offended Wang Zhuo. At this moment, someone from the Hengyu sect disciples sneered. I was wondering who the person Wang Zhuo was talking about was. As I expected, it was this junior brother Wang Lin. This job is indeed suitable for him. With his talent, cultivating is really a waste of time. It is impossible for him to go on stage. Someone else added, This kind of job, aside from trash like him, no one else can do it. Junior brother Wang Lin, you have to do a good job. Don't lose face for our Hengyu sect. The sounds of mockery continued. All of the Xiandao sect disciples finally understood that not only did Wang Lin offend Wang Zhuo, but he also became the target of ridicule from the inner sect disciples due to his lack of talent. This kind of thing happened in any sect, so it wasn't a big deal. As a result, Wang Lin was immediately labeled as trash in the eyes of all the Xiandao sect disciples. The girl named Zhou, who was sitting next to Wang Lin, frowned. She looked at Wang Lin with disgust and whispered to Wang Zhu, "Junior brother Wang Lin, if I hadn't come, he wouldn't have targeted you." Wang Lin shook his head. Wang Zhua had been targeting him for a long time. From the first time they met, Wang Zhua liked to mock him. All of the inner sect disciples looked down on him because of the rumor that he had entered the sect by committing suicide and doing despicable things to curry favor with the elders. The most important thing was that he was only at the third layer of qi condensation, which was the lowest among the inner sect disciples. Wang Lin looked at the ferocious centipede on the ground. He didn't care and pretended like he didn't hear anything. Not long after, Wang Zhua arranged for a few disciples to lead the Xiandao sect disciples to the guest rooms to rest. The Xiandao sect disciple named Lu looked at Wang Lin before he left and gently said, "This must be junior brother Wang Lin. My Xiandao sect's 1,000-feet centipede is wild and untamed. When you feed it, you have to be careful and don't get too close to it. Don't get hurt by it." Wang Zhua sneered at Wang Lin and then ignored him. Not long after, everyone outside the main hall disappeared. The girl named Zhou frowned. She said a few more words to Wang Lin, then got up and left. Looking at the empty square, Wang Lin stood up and walked toward the centipede. When he was 10 feet away, he stopped. He carefully looked at the centipede beast. Up close, the 1,000-legged centipede was a huge creature. Its body was made up of many rings, and each ring had a pair of pitch-black legs. The legs were so densely packed that they looked like sharp knives. Its bamboo body faintly emitted a black light. This was especially so for the 1,000-legged centipede's head. 2 huge pincers protruded out ferociously, causing people to feel fear just by looking at them. In addition to this, the most eye-catching thing was the 2 long, red whiskers on its head. They moved without any wind, like 2 long snakes twisting and waving. As if it knew that Wang Lin was paying attention to it, it opened its eyes and coldly looked at Wang Lin. A wave of coldness quickly spread out. Wang Lin's body felt cold, but he quickly circulated the spiritual energy in his body and easily dissolved the coldness. The centipede revealed a surprised expression. It looked deeply at Wang Lin, then closed its eyes and ignored him. Wang Lin revealed a look of interest. This centipede was indeed worthy of being a spirit beast. It had expressions like a human. He pondered a little, then quickly left the square. He walked around the mountain and spread out his divine sense. He easily caught a few small beasts and carried them back. Along the way, he met a few Xiandao sect disciples. Next to them were a few inner disciples who were talking about interesting things about the sect. When the inner disciples saw the small beasts in Wang Lin's hands, they all laughed, attracting the attention of the Xiandao sect disciples. One of the Xiandao sect disciples was very delicate, and her face looked like it was made of water. She smiled and said, "Junior apprentice brother, the 1,000-legged centipede won't be able to eat its fill with the small beasts you caught. It will be best if you caught a bigger worm. That is the 1,000-legged centipede's favorite." Someone from the inner sect said, "Junior apprentice, Sister Ouyang, this dumb kid is like a mute. You don't need to care about him." Back then, he didn't even have the qualifications to cultivate. He failed all of the tests and caused a lot of trouble. In the end, the elders had no choice but to accept him as an honorary disciple. The person who spoke was very familiar to Wang Lin. It was Sun Hao, who had mocked him with Wang Zhua. Someone from the Xiandao sect asked, "Honorary disciple? But he is wearing a red robe. He should be an inner disciple of the Hongyu sect." "I'm not done yet. I don't know what sort of despicable method this trash used to gain the favor of a martial uncle." Not long after, he was accepted as a true disciple. However, even so, with his talent, other than being laughed at by others, he could forget about making any progress in his life. Sun Hao laughed loudly. Wang Lin calmly looked at these people. He didn't say anything and quickly left. Soon, he returned to where the centipede was and threw the small beast next to it. When the 2 small beasts saw the centipede, they were so scared that they fell to the ground and trembled. The centipede opened its eyes. Without even looking at the small beasts, it spat out black gas. The moment the black gas touched the two small beasts, a sizzling sound could be heard. In the blink of an eye, the two small beasts turned into a pool of blood. The centipede sucked them in and sucked them into its mouth. Wang Lin took a few steps back. His eyes lit up. Centipedes usually contained poison, and this poison was their strongest attack. When he was young, he read in a book that the centipede's poison was closely related to its size. To put it simply, the bigger the centipede, the stronger the poison. Chapter 43. The centipede in front of him was at least 300 meters long, and the poison it contained must have reached an astonishing level. Wang Lin was no stranger to centipedes. The children in the village often caught small centipede from the cracks in the rocks to play with. Some even caught centipedes to feed their poultry. Sometimes, when one was careless and bitten by a centipede, although the bite area would become red and swollen, as long as one used shimizu to wash it, it wouldn't be life-threatening. At most, one would have to stay home for a few days. There was even a time when he specifically collected centipede poison. The village doctor said that centipede poison, if used properly, could cure illnesses. In the early years, in order to support the family, his father couldn't afford to buy wood, so he had to go up the mountain to cut wood himself. The mountain was very cold, and his father accidentally caught a cold, almost losing his life. At that time, the doctor had written a prescription that included centipedes. Later, although his father recovered from his illness, the root of the illness was branded in his body. Every time it rained, his entire body would be in unbearable pain. The doctor said that centipede poison could alleviate the illness. For this reason, Wang Lin had caught many centipedes to treat his father's illness. Even now, Wang Lin still remembered the events of the past. Looking at the 300-meter-long centipede in front of him, Wang Lin rubbed his chin. If the small centipede's poison could cure illnesses, then the big centipede's poison would definitely be even more effective. Perhaps it could even cure his father's chronic illness in one go. However, the centipede in front of him was too big. Compared to it, Wang Lin was really insignificant. He was worried that he wouldn't be able to extract the poison and would instead be injured. Suddenly, Wang Lin's expression changed. He remembered a recipe in the village for extracting centipede poison. It was said that this recipe was passed down from the older generation. It was to boil some medicinal herbs into granules and feed them to the centipede, causing it to spit out the poison. Thinking of this, he stared at the 1,000-legged centipede, his heart stirring. Without another word, he walked toward the alchemy room. If there was a place in the entire sect with the most medicinal herbs, it would be the pill room. He and Wang Hao hadn't seen each other for 4 years, so this was a good opportunity to take a look. As the sky darkened, Wang Lin arrived at the alchemy room just in time to see Wang Hao cautiously coming out from the side door. When Wang Hao noticed Wang Lin, he quickly put his hand over his mouth and shushed him, signaling for him to leave first. Wang Lin was startled. He scanned the room with his divine sense and found that his third senior brother was in the pill room with a solemn expression. He was constantly throwing various herbs into the pill furnace with a focused expression. After walking a short distance, Wang Hao tiptoed out. When he saw Wang Lin, he didn't say anything. Instead, he pulled him along as they ran. Only when they were a good distance away did he breathe a sigh of relief. Wang Lin, I heard you participated in the training 4 years ago. How was it? What level of qi condensation are you at now? Wang Hao asked quickly, his expression filled with pride. 3rd level of qi condensation. Wang Lin scanned him with his divine sense. Wang Hao seemed transparent to him. With just a glance, he was shocked. Wang Hao had already reached the 1st level of qi condensation, but there was something strange about his body. His spiritual energy wasn't circulating in the normal way, but in a completely new and bizarre way. Every time the spiritual energy circulated, it would extract a strand of essence qi from Wang Hao's organs and fuse it into his body. Wang Hao smiled proudly. You saw through it? Wang Lin nodded. Wang Hao, tell me what's going on? Wang Hao gave Wang Lin a mysterious look and smiled. This is a cultivation technique I secretly traded for. Once I've mastered it, I'll tell you in detail. Right, Brother Taiju, why did you come looking for me? Wang Lin gave him a deep look. He always felt that Wang Hao's cultivation was too strange, but Wang Hao was very excited, so he didn't say anything more. He pondered a little and told him about the recipe. Wang Hao immediately guaranteed it and said there was no problem. The two of them chatted for a bit, then Wang Hao quickly left. Wang Lin was about to return to the herb garden when he suddenly had a strange expression. He looked at the guest room of the Xiandao sect, pondered a little, and walked toward it. Before he got close, he heard an exaggerated voice coming from inside. "I say, brothers of the Hung Yu sect, this flying sword of mine is amazing. It is one of the treasures of the Xiandao sect. It is called the Meridian Gold Sword. You guys can go ask around. It wasn't easy for me to steal it. If any of you want to trade it, you must swear not to take it out again at the gathering. Otherwise, I won't sell it." "Really? Is this treasure really as amazing as you say?" Someone immediately said in disbelief. "Li Shan never lie. If you guys don't believe me, then forget it. I can sell this flying sword no matter where I put it." Wang Lin noticed that there was something strange about this place. There were a lot of people gathered here. There were disciples from both sections. He walked closer and saw a 20-year-old Xiandao sect disciple with a square face and thick eyebrows. He was holding a small sword made of copper coins. He was standing in the center and talking. The surrounding Xiandao sect disciples all revealed strange expressions. One of them couldn't stand it anymore. He coughed and said, "Brother Li Shan is right. The Meridian Gold Sword is indeed one of the treasures of the Xiandao sect. However, I have to say that the sword in Brother Li Shan's hand is a fake, but it still has some use." The Hung Yu sect disciples began to discuss among themselves. Finally, a fifth-layer qi condensation disciple walked out. Wang Lin remembered that this person was named Zhao. Disciple Zhao and Li Shan talked for a long time. Wang Lin didn't know what they were talking about, but they both smiled and reached a deal. Some of the inner disciples sneered. "It is just a sword made of common steel with some spirit metal added to it. You dare to sell it? The Xiandao sect is only SOSO." Li Shan immediately retorted, "Brother Li, you are wrong. My junior brother already pointed out that it is a fake, but doesn't your Hung Yu sect still have people who want to buy it? This kind of thing is the best for collection." The Hung Yu sect disciple named Zhao's expression changed, and he laughed. "Brother Li, you are wrong. I am not buying this broken sword for collection. I am buying it to give to my dad. My family is a pig butcher, so this sword is perfect for me." Li Shan wasn't angry. He smiled and said, "Anyway, you bought it. As for what you do with it, I don't care. Okay, I have another treasure here. It is called the Invincible Black Ash Sky Stink Bomb. This thing is a treasure. I won't lie to you this time. You can test it on the spot." After saying that, he took out a black ball and threw it at the wall. With a boom, a spiderweb-like crack appeared on the wall. The surroundings were pitch black, and there was even a stench coming from it. "What do you think? This invincible black ash stinking thunderbolt bomb is a hidden weapon unique to me, Li Shan. Although it's not very powerful, if it were to hit someone, even I wouldn't be able to wash off the black ash. Especially this stinking smell. I painstakingly collected the bodily fluids of dozens of exotic beasts to make it. It's definitely a powerful weapon to disgust people." Li Shan explained with a smile on his face. Everyone looked at each other, dumbfounded. Some of the female disciples covered their noses and took a few steps back. Wang Lin was also very surprised. He spread out his divine sense, and his expression suddenly became strange. The disciples of the Xiandao sect all felt very embarrassed. Li Shan was famous for making all kinds of strange things, so very few people were willing to provoke him. After all, no one wanted to be hit by a stink bomb. This invincible black ash sky stink bomb was very famous in the Xiandao sect. It could even be compared to some of the treasures in the sect. What do you think? This time I put in a lot of effort, but I will still say the same thing. You must not use it in the competition in 3 days, or else I won't sell it to you. Li Shan revealed a serious expression, but in his heart he was secretly laughing. You bunch of idiots. The more I say this, the more you have to use it. Hee hee, there will be a good show to watch. When the elders go back, they will definitely praise me and maybe even give me a few treasures. Chapter 44. Thinking about this, his eyes lit up and he began to yell. Fellow disciples of the Hung Yu sect, There's an old saying that goes, "Don't go overboard." But let me tell everyone today, killing someone is not as good as disgusting someone. Disgusting someone will make them stink for thousands of years. Just imagine, when you're fighting with your enemy, if you suddenly use this move, even if you can't beat your enemy, you will still have an unimaginable advantage in terms of face. Or if you're running away, this move will definitely have a miraculous effect. The enemy's body is covered in black dust and emits a disgusting smell. If you run to a place with a lot of people, he won't dare to chase you. Also, if you meet a love rival, this move will have the effect of deciding the winner in one round. If anyone dares to snatch your woman, you can use this move. I guarantee that your little sister will never come into contact with them again. She can't stand the stench. Li Shan's yell moved the hearts of many inner sect disciples, especially when he talked about how to deal with love rivals. Many of the inner sect disciples were very tempted. This thing was really a trump card that rivals in the world of love looked down upon. At this moment, Li Shan's gaze turned and noticed Wang Lin not far away. He recognized him as the trash of the Hengyu sect. In his eyes, this kind of trash was a big customer who was willing to go bankrupt. The few pieces of trash in Xiandao sect had all been squeezed dry by him. Now that he saw Wang Lin, Li Shan's heart immediately burst with joy, and he continued to say, "This is especially true for those with lower cultivation bases. This Thunderbolt bomb is the best for you. With this bomb in hand, who dares to bully you in the future? If anyone dares to bully you, just throw one out. I, Li Shan, guarantee that you will be able to walk unhindered in the sect in the future. No one will dare to provoke you." Speaking up to here, Li Shan secretly laughed in his heart. It was impossible for no one to mess with him. Instead, he would be beaten up. This Thunderbolt bomb is really a good defensive weapon for those with low cultivation levels. Today, I'm having a big sale. Buy 2 get 1 free. Consider it a favor. In the future, when we meet in the cultivation world, don't forget to take care of me. Li Shan saw that a lot of people were tempted, so he quickly increased his sales. Among the inner disciples who were tempted by his extravagant words, one of them said, "Is this thing really as magical as you said? Take out a few more and let me choose one to experiment with. If that's the case, I'll buy a few to play with." Without saying a word, Li Shan took out dozens of thunderbolts from his storage bag and gently placed them on the ground, as if he was afraid they would explode. He said, "You must remember to handle this treasure gently. When you throw it out, it will automatically explode when it encounters resistance." Wang Lin recognized the inner disciple who spoke. He was Sun Hao. Sun Hao stepped forward and carefully picked up a thunderbolt bomb from the pile, placing it on his palm and carefully examining it. Li Shan's expression remained the same, but he thought mockingly in his heart, "Little guy, you think you can see through it? Other than the sect elders, even eldest senior brother can't see through this secret." Chapter 45. Sun Hao looked at it for a long time, but he couldn't tell what was so special about it. He thought for a bit, then threw it into the distance. The thunderbolt drew an arc in the air. The moment it landed, Li Shan said in his heart, "Explode." With a boom, the thunderbolt exploded. Black ash covered the ground, and a foul stench filled the air. Wang Lin's eyes flashed. His divine sense covered the area, but no one noticed. Just now, when the thunderbolt landed, he clearly felt a trace of spiritual energy coming from Li Shan's body. It was the same during the first experiment. Wang Lin stared at the thunderbolt and chuckled. He didn't point it out and continued to look. Li Shan smiled and said, "How is it, senior apprentice brother? My thunderbolt is amazing, right? However, I, Li Shan, am an honest person. I'll say the ugly things first. This treasure doesn't always explode. You need to learn how to throw it. Once you buy it, you can slowly figure it out. Don't say I lied to you if it doesn't explode." Sun Hao didn't say anything. He went up and whispered a few words into Li Shan's ear. Then he pulled Li Shan to the side and took out a lot of things. Li Shan thought for a long time, then took out 10 thunderbolt bombs and gave them to Sun Hao. He muttered, "Buy 6, get 3 for each. Whatever, since you're the first to trade with me, I'll give you one more." Someone took the lead and tested it on the spot. Thus, a few more inner sect disciples walked out and whispered to Li Shan, trying to test it out. Every time Li Shan traded with someone, he would say a few words. He said that he couldn't guarantee success every time. If it didn't work the first time, they should practice a few more times. If they had any questions, they could come find him at any time, and he would teach them how to throw it. When he said this, Li Shan laughed in his heart. He thought, "You guys throw it a few times without success, but under my guidance, you've succeeded once or twice. After all, I'll only be at the Hung Yu sect for a few days. By then, even if you guys have doubts, I'll already be gone." However, there were still some inner disciples who were cautious and did not buy it. Not long after, there were only a few dozen thunderbolts left. Li Shan proudly looked at the Hung Yu sect disciples and thought, "A bunch of idiots. If you don't use them in 3 days, then it's fine. At most, you'll be tricked by me. But once you use them, there will be a good show. These thunderbolts are completely under my control. Even if someone tries to hit them with an awl, they won't explode. I'm really looking forward to the match in 3 days." He glanced around and suddenly noticed the faint smile on Wang Lin's face. He was immediately startled and turned his eyes. He stepped forward and said, "Junior brother, why don't you change a few to play with? I say, junior martial brother, with your cultivation, this thunderbolt bomb is the most suitable. With it in hand, if anyone dares to provoke you, just throw one at them." Wang Lin looked at Li Shan and revealed a trace of mockery. Li Shan was shocked. This glance made him feel like his deepest secret was seen through. He carefully looked at Wang Lin. Wang Lin was clearly at the 3rd layer of qi condensation, and the title of trash couldn't be fake. He secretly thought that he was just imagining things. Wang Lin lightly smiled and nodded. "Okay, I'll change too, but I don't have any treasures, just some talismans from the sect." Li Shan hesitated for the first time. He carefully looked at Wang Lin for a long time. After confirming that Wang Lin was at the 3rd layer of qi condensation, he relaxed and took out 3 thunderbolts. He smiled and said, "Junior martial brother, I'll do you a favor. Talismans it is. Buy 2 get 1 free. These 3 thunderbolts will definitely give you an extraordinary feeling. Haha." After he finished speaking, he thought, "It really is extraordinary. I didn't lie to you about this. As long as you have these thunderbolts, even if you don't go on stage this time, when we meet in the future, I'll find a chance to let you experience what is called extraordinary. You will definitely remember it for the rest of your life. Haha." Chapter 46. Wang Lin put away the thunderball, looked at Li Shan, and said, "Senior brother Li Shan, I won't disturb you any longer." Wang will take his leave. Li Shan hurriedly nodded and revealed a kind expression as he said, "Junior brother, you must be careful when you use these thunderbolts. I've already said that there's a problem with throwing them, so I can't guarantee success every time. Don't say that I lied to you if you don't succeed." After he finished speaking, he continued to shout at the others, "Fellow senior brothers, I still have a treasure here. It is a keepsake from the He Huan sect. Whoever has this can go to the He Huan sect and find a beauty with 2 breasts. I spent a lot of effort to get this, so I'm willing to part with it. Senior brothers of the Hung Yu sect, you must grasp this opportunity." Wang Lin chuckled and walked back to the medicine garden. After a while, he returned to his residence. He spread out his divine sense and found that Sun Daju wasn't there, so he sat down cross-legged in his room. He took out the 3 thunderballs and carefully examined them. After a long time, Wang Lin revealed an interested expression. Under his divine sense, the thunderball seemed to be transparent and didn't have any secrets. To put it bluntly, there was a strand of Li Shan's divine sense inside. He could use this to control the explosion. Wang Lin never knew that divine sense could be used like this. After carefully imitating it for a while, he easily covered the thunderball with his divine sense. He didn't remove the other party's divine sense, but instead wrapped it around himself. If he wanted to, he could remove it at any time. The use of divine sense on the thunderball gave Wang Lin a lot of inspiration. He pondered for a bit and took out the mysterious stone bead. Since divine sense can be used like this, can I condense it on this bead? Wang Lin's eyes lit up and his divine sense immediately condensed on the mysterious stone bead. After a long time, Wang Lin frowned. There was no change to the stone bead. His divine sense also looked the same as before. After thinking for a while, Wang Lin's expression changed. He picked up the bead and quickly left the herb garden. He walked as fast as he could to the mountains and found a secluded place. After confirming that it was safe, he immediately entered the dream space. The moment he entered, Wang Lin knew that he was pressed for time, so he immediately spread out his spiritual consciousness. Half an incense stick of time, 1 incense stick of time, 2 incense sticks of time. There were no changes in the surroundings. Wang Lin touched his chin in distress and muttered to himself, "Is it really impossible to leave my divine sense in the stone bead?" At this moment, the glowing object closest to Wang Lin suddenly flickered with light and gradually dimmed. Wang Lin was startled. Then, like a chain reaction, the glowing spheres dimmed one after another. Finally, all the glowing spheres in the dream space dimmed one after another. Not long after, the surroundings were completely dark, without the slightest bit of light. Wang Lin's heart was shocked. He carefully observed for a long time, but he didn't see anything unusual. There is no need to observe. With your pseudo-peak spirit movement stage cultivation, it is simply wishful thinking for you to see anything unusual about this heaven-defying bead. An old voice suddenly appeared. The voice was filled with vicissitudes of life. Wang Lin was shocked, and his pupils shrank. He had been cultivating in the dream space for dozens of years. This was the first time he heard another person speak. His heart was filled with monstrous shock. Wang Lin took a deep breath, suppressed the shock in his heart, and respectfully said, "Junior is Wang Lin. Senior is?" Wang Lin was a smart person. He couldn't help but think that the other person couldn't have suddenly appeared. It was obvious that the other person had always been inside the stone bead. For the past 30 years, he was probably under the other person's surveillance. The name of the old man is not something that a junior from a rank 3 cultivation country like you're qualified to know. You spent nearly 30 years with the secret help of the old man and the help of this heaven-defying bead, but you only managed to reach pseudo-peak spirit movement stage. This is really disappointing, especially with your intellect. You actually only thought of using your divine sense to observe the bead now. Wang Lin was silent. He had also used his divine sense to observe the stone bead before, but it wasn't as long as this time. Especially the way you do things, it disgusts me the most. Cultivators are supposed to do things that go against the heavens. Whoever dares to provoke you, you kill them. I have been secretly observing your sect for the past few years. If it was me, I'm afraid that sect would have already been wiped out by me. All those who insulted you, I would have killed them all, especially that Wang Zhua. Given my temper, I would have long since extracted his soul and thrown it into the purgatory reincarnation cycle. Then I would have gone to his house and wiped out his entire family. I quite like that Zhang Hu from your sect. He's vicious enough. And that junior surnamed Liu, I like him even more. He suits this old man's tastes. Wang Lin's expression was strange. He wryly smiled and said, "Senior, don't interrupt me. I'm not done yet. Your little sect has a few pretty girls, but you really don't know how to enjoy yourself. If it were me, I would have captured them and used them as cultivation furnaces and sucked them dry. That feeling really makes me miss it. I haven't tasted that feeling for more than 30 years. Wang Lin was dumbfounded. He was speechless for a long time. "Brat, can't you work harder? Hurry up and cultivate. The sooner you reach the soul transformation stage, the sooner the old man will be able to come out." Wang Lin hesitated for a bit. He was a bit confused. He asked, "Senior, what is the soul transformation stage? Also, you said that I am at the peak of the spiritual movement stage. What does that mean? Can't you think for yourself? Why do you keep asking questions? Forget it. You're just a little kid from a rank 3 cultivation country. Even if you break your head, you won't get the answer. Listen carefully, brat. The spiritual movement stage is a stage for cultivators in rank 4 and above cultivation countries. It is similar to the chi condensation stage here, but it is a bit wider. Let me put it this way. In your rank 3 cultivation countries, there are only 4 stages: chi condensation, foundation establishment, core formation, and nascent soul. As for the spirit-severing stage, it is a legendary stage in your eyes. Once a spirit-severing cultivator appears in a rank 3 cultivation country, your country will be promoted to a rank 4 cultivation country. Correspondingly, you will receive all kinds of funding from the Cultivation Alliance. You will also have the right to compete for cultivation planets outside of the country. You will also have to take on the responsibility of protecting the Cultivation Alliance. Similarly, if a soul transformation cultivator appears in a rank 4 cultivation country, it will be promoted to a rank 5 cultivation country, and so on. Chapter 47. Wang Lin wryly smiled and said, "The soul transformation stage is too far away for Junior." Bullshit. With me, a peerless expert from a rank 6 cultivation country, helping you, a mere soul transformation cultivator, is nothing. Although I can't leave, every time you cultivate, I have used my own nascent soul essence to help you solidify your foundation. Otherwise, with your talent, you wouldn't be able to reach this level in 30 years. Also, you have absorbed my nascent soul essence. Unless you meet someone at the same cultivation level as me, no one will be able to see through your cultivation level. Also, the heaven-defying bead is in your hands. So what are you afraid of? Damn it. I spent a lot of effort to steal this mysterious treasure that suddenly appeared in the Cultivation Alliance. In the end, my body was destroyed and my soul was almost destroyed. It wasn't easy for me to hide inside the heaven-defying bead. I originally wanted to find a body to take over, but this damn heaven-defying bead. If I don't have a body, I can't leave. I won't lie to you, Junior. When I saw you come in, I wanted to take your body, but I found that it was impossible. The heaven-defying bead is like a cage that I can't leave. I studied it for many years and learned that the bead must recognize an owner before it can show some use, and I can leave. When I got the bead, I didn't have time to study it before I was chased by people. This bead needs to gather the 5 elements of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth to recognize an owner. Even so, it needs to be at least at the soul transformation stage before it can take me out. Ah, kid, just treat it as me being kind and quickly cultivate. When the time comes, help me find a good body to take over. I, Situ Nan, will remember your kindness. In the future, with me protecting you, you will be able to live a good life. At the end, Situ Nan's tone wasn't as strong as before. It was now filled with lament. Wang Lin pondered a bit. Just as he was about to speak, Situ Nan's voice echoed again. "Kid, someone is coming. I'll send you out first." Suddenly, a tearing sensation appeared. Wang Lin's body trembled, and he opened his eyes in reality. With a sweep of his divine sense, he immediately discovered 2 intersect disciples, one male and one female, sneaking up on him. When they were about 30 meters away from Wang Lin, they stopped, kissed each other, and whispered sweet nothings to each other. Before long, they were naked, and moaning could be heard echoing in the surroundings. Wang Lin was very familiar with these 2 people. They had participated in the group, training together. He looked at them curiously for a while, especially at the female disciple for a long time, before reluctantly leaving. After returning to his residence, Wang Lin thought about what Situ Nan had said in the dreamscape. Wang Lin didn't believe his words, but the discussion about the cultivation world's tier countries was an eye-opener. Situ Nan wouldn't lie about these things. 3 days later, the exchange between the Hengyu sect and the Xian Dao sect officially began. This was a long-standing tradition between the 2 sects, so there wasn't much to be done. The location of the exchange was set at the Hengyu sect's secondary peak, Pine Peak. An arched stone bridge spanned between the 2 peaks. Wang Lin had seen Pine Peak several times before, but it was always covered by clouds, so he couldn't see it clearly. Pine Peak was one of the most important places in the Hengyu sect. The amount of spiritual energy here was no less than the back mountain, and it was the place where the 2 core formation ancestors trained. At the top of Pine Peak, there was a set of stone steps specially prepared for the exchange. There were 8 giant white jades on the sides of the steps. The history of the Hengyu sect from 500 years ago was engraved on them. Arriving at the top of Pine Peak, A majestic aura slowly spread out from the 8 white jades. The moment this aura appeared, it immediately turned into a monstrous killing intent. The coldness was bone-chilling, and it could frighten one's soul. Fellow cultivator Huanglong, every time I see these 8 white jades, I get a different feeling. They are indeed worthy of being the treasures of the country of Zhao. Elder Ouyang emotionally sighed. At the same time, he waved his sleeves and, with a serious expression, neutralized the killing intent coming from the white jades. Behind him, all of the Xiandao sect disciples revealed shocked expressions. In that instant, the killing intent coming from the white jades made them feel like they were in a battlefield. They almost couldn't bear it. It wasn't until Elder Ouyang neutralized the killing intent that the feelings slowly dissipated. Fellow cultivator Ouyang, this is a treasure personally made by the ancestor of the Hongyu sect. Anyone who is not a disciple of the Hongyu sect within 100 feet of the white jades will be affected by the killing intent. Fellow cultivator Ouyang should know this, so please forgive me for my rudeness. Taoist Master Huanglong's expression was calm. His hands formed hand seals, and he silently chanted a chant. Suddenly, rays of gentle light flowed out from the 8 pieces of white jade. The mist covering Deep Pine Peak seemed to be pushed aside by 2 large hands, quickly revealing its true appearance. The monstrous killing intent was also swept away at this moment. Behind him, all of the inner disciples were rubbing their fists. Old man Ouyang turned around, talked to the 2 elders behind him, and said, "No problem. Then we will follow the old rules. For the first match, my Xiandao sect will send someone first. Lu Feng, you go." Lu Feng was the male disciple of the Xiandao sect with a water spirit root. He faintly smiled, took a deep breath, and moved like lightning. He stood on the stage and said, "Xiandao sect's Lu Feng asked for advice from the Hongyu sect." Wang Lin followed behind Sun Dazhu. He had the golden flying sword on his back and was wearing a red disciple's robe. He looked very majestic. Sun Dazhu was very satisfied with his disciple's attire. Ever since Wang Lin reached the 3rd layer, he didn't hate him as much as before. Although he didn't like him, he more or less treated him like a disciple. Of course, all of this depended on whether or not Wang Lin's cultivation would stay at the 3rd layer. If he was still at the 3rd layer after 8 or 10 years, Sun Dazhu would probably hate him again. In these 3 days, Wang Lin didn't go out at all. Most of his time was spent talking with Situ Nan in the dream space. After many conversations, he gained some understanding of Situ Nan. Situ Nan was the strongest cultivator in the rank 6 cultivation country of Rosefinch. His cultivation level was unfathomable, and he was very arrogant. He often killed people to steal their treasures and was very arrogant. The scene became very quiet because of Lu Feng's appearance. The sect head, Huanglong, looked at Lu Feng and said, "Zhao Long, you go." Zhao Long was usually very quiet among the inner disciples. He was one of the few disciples that had reached the 6th layer. For the first match, the Hongyu sect sent out a 6th layer disciple. This was very rare in the past competitions. Elder Ouyang didn't mind. He smiled and said, "Lu Feng, for this first match, I'll allow you to use 50% of your cultivation." The moment he said this, the expressions of the Hongyu sect disciples changed. Chapter 48. The elders of the Hongyu sect all had gloomy expressions. They didn't say a word, but their eyes were cold. The way they looked at the Xiandao sect became unfriendly. Sun Zhu let out a mischievous laugh and whispered to Wang Lin, "Disciple, watch carefully. This competition is much more intense than before. This is the first time the Xiandao sect has been so arrogant." Wang Lin looked at the angry expressions of the other disciples and carefully looked at Lu Feng. There was still a layer of fog around Lu Feng, so he couldn't see his true cultivation level. Lu Feng stood on top of the stone platform and smiled gently. "Brother Zhao, since my sect's elder has given the order, I will only use 50% of my cultivation in this competition." Zhao Long's body was medium built. His face was dark, and he looked very strong. He didn't look like a cultivator, but more like a mortal cultivator from a sect. He carefully looked at Lu Feng, clasped his hands and said, "Brother Lu, please." With that, he stomped his foot, and a milky white lotus appeared under his feet. These lotus flowers quickly rose into the air and immediately expanded, hovering around his body. Strands of sword qi emanated from each of the lotus leaves, causing Zhao Long's robes to flutter even though there was no wind. The sect head, Huang Long, revealed a smile and said, "Zhao Long's lotus sword art already has the power of a mid-quality sword art. Not bad." The red-faced old man proudly said, "Ha! Elder brother, this Zhao Long is my proudest disciple. His talent is not bad, and what is even more valuable is that he is very hardworking. This lotus sword art was chosen by him from the scripture pavilion. He has already cultivated it for 5 years and has finally reached the mid-quality sword art realm." Elder Dao Su smiled and said to the surrounding disciples, "The lotus sword art is known for its attack power. You inner disciples better watch carefully and learn from it. This is a rare opportunity, so make good use of it." Wang Jun narrowed his eyes. On the surface, he nodded, but in his heart, he thought, "Lotus sword art? I know it too. Wait for me to cultivate for 5 years, and I will definitely be stronger than him." Brother Zhao is usually very quiet. I can't believe he has cultivated the lotus sword art to this level. Sun Hao was secretly envious and began to carefully observe. At this time, on the stone platform, Zhao Long shouted, "Junior Brother Lu, my lotus sword qi is extremely powerful. You must be careful." In that instant, the lotuses in the surroundings suddenly spun rapidly. Streaks of azure sword qi shot towards Lu Feng like a storm. Lu Feng's expression remained the same. He quickly retreated and formed a seal with both hands. He shouted in a low voice, "Water screen." In that instant, the entire sky suddenly darkened. Following that, specks of light appeared in all directions. They were water droplets. These water droplets gathered in front of Lu Feng at lightning speed, forming a layer of water curtain. Under the sunlight, it flickered with colorful light, looking very beautiful. Elder Ouyang had a smile on his face as he said to the disciples behind him, "The Hung Yu sect's lotus sword qi is very difficult to learn, especially for this Zhao Long. He has already reached the realm of sword intent, so his attack power is superb. If you meet him in the future, you must remember that this lotus sword qi cannot be defeated by brute force. If you want to win, you must be like Lu Feng and have a water spirit root." All of the disciples nodded, but the middle-aged man standing at the very back had a look of disdain. On the stone platform, the rainstorm-like lotus sword qi all landed on the water curtain. Zhao Long's expression sank. This water curtain was too strange. When the lotus sword qi touched it, it didn't have any effect at all. All of it silently disappeared. He frowned and was about to cast another spell. Right at this moment, Lu Feng suddenly revealed a strange smile and said softly, "Senior Brother Zhao, it's impolite not to reciprocate. Why don't you take this lotus sword qi and see how it goes?" Ripples appeared on the water curtain. The lotus flower sword qi that Zhao Long had just released was immediately reflected from the water curtain. It was the same spell, the same sword intent. Zhao Long's expression greatly changed. He quickly retreated, but the lotus sword qi was too fast. Seeing that he didn't have enough time to dodge, Zhao Long clenched his teeth and threw out more than 10 talismans from his bag of holding. The moment these talismans appeared, they emitted a yellow light and spontaneously combusted into a black mist. When the lotus sword qi hit the black mist, they all dissipated. The black mist also quickly melted. In the end, most of the lotus sword qi was dissolved, but there was still some lotus sword qi that didn't melt. It charged out of the black mist and directly pierced through Zhao Long's body. Zhao Long's body was thrown far away by the impact of the lotus sword qi. He continuously coughed out blood in midair and fell to the ground with a pale face. He struggled for a while, but couldn't stand up. There were several small holes on his body. Luckily, none of them were fatal, so his life wasn't in danger. Lu Feng had a proud look on his face. He turned around and jumped off the stage. He said to Ouyang Elder, "Disciple didn't disappoint you and only used half of the water curtain reflection. The red-faced elder's body turned into a red cloud and quickly arrived next to Zhao Long. His face was gloomy as he slapped Zhao Long's body a few times and fed Zhao Long a few precious pills. After doing all of this, he said, "What a good water curtain reflection. Unless one is at least at the 8th layer of qi condensation, it is impossible to break it. My disciple is not skilled enough, so it is normal for him to lose." The Xian Dao sect disciples all revealed looks of joy and began to talk among themselves. A mere 6th layer qi condensation cultivator wants to compete with Brother Lu Feng? I knew that we would win the first round. That's right. Brother Lu's water curtain is very powerful. Even the elders praise it. They want to break it? They must be dreaming. That's right. This Hangyu sect is getting worse every year. I have observed the inner disciples for a long time and haven't seen a single one that is a threat to us. You can't say that. The purple-clothed disciples of the Hangyu sect still haven't appeared. I heard from the elders that these people are the core disciples of the Hangyu sect. Chapter 49. Like the Xian Dao sect disciples, the Hangyu sect disciples were all shocked. They had all entered the sect in the last 20 years and had rarely seen such a bloody scene. They were all silent, and their hearts were filled with unease. Sect leader Huang Long's face sank, and he couldn't speak for a long time. He could tell at a glance that Lu Feng was at the 6th level of qi condensation, but he didn't expect Lu Feng to have such a miraculous spell. The water curtain was so strong that it couldn't be broken unless one was at the 8th level of qi condensation. This was only the first match, and it was already like this. He couldn't help but feel bitter in his heart. The Hangyu sect had really fallen. He looked at the juniors around him. They all had bitter expressions on their faces and were silent. Sun Deju sucked in a breath of cold air and muttered to himself, "Damn, just one disciple is stronger than me. How did the Xian Dao sect find a disciple? Why don't I have this kind of luck?" Wang Lin took a deep look at Lu Feng. He saw everything that had just happened. Although he knew Lu Feng's cultivation level when he used the water curtain, Wang Lin was still shocked by the water curtain. Xian Dao sect's elder Ouyang faintly smiled and loudly said, "Fellow cultivator Huang Long, for the second match, it is your turn to go first." Huang Long's gaze swept across the inner disciples one by one. Most of the inner disciples immediately lowered their heads and prayed that they wouldn't be chosen. Seeing this, Huang Long was very angry. Just as he was about to speak, Sun Hao suddenly clenched his teeth and said, "Sect head, disciple is untalented, but I'm willing to go for the second match." The other elders all had unhappy expressions on their faces. Dao Su frowned and said, "Sun Hao, you are only at the 4th layer. Don't mess around." Sun Hao hesitated for a while and said, Disciple has a new technique. Even if I can't win, I can at least annoy the opponent." He secretly thought, right now no one is willing to go up. If I go up, I will definitely gain the favor of the sect head. Even if I can't win, I can still gain some face with this thunderbolt. Brother Lishan, I'm sorry. I bought this thunderbolt bomb from you and use it on you guys. It can be considered a karmic circle. Over the past few days, he thought that he had already mastered the use of the thunderbolt bomb. Although he had failed the first few times, he had succeeded a few times with Lishan. Due to the lack of time, he did not continue to practice, but he believed that he would definitely succeed if he used it a few more times. Perfected being Huang Long sighed and pondered for a moment before nodding. "Go up. Let me see your new Dharma spell." Sun Hao jumped onto the stage and loudly said, "Hangyu sect's disciple Sun Hao wishes to challenge the Xian Dao sect." When Lishan saw Sun Hao, he immediately laughed until his intestines turned green. When he saw that Elder Ouyang was about to pick someone to go up, he immediately took a few steps forward and said, "Martial Uncle, Disciple Lishan is willing to go up and exchange some pointers with the other party." As he spoke, he even winked at Elder Ouyang. Elder Ouyang had a headache dealing with this Lishan, but he knew that Lishan was very strange and wouldn't easily lose out. Since Lishan wanted to go up, he must be very confident. After pondering for a bit, he nodded. Lishan excitedly walked onto the stage. His heart was already blooming with joy. He secretly thought, Sun Hao, you asked for this. This time, I'll definitely make you lose all face. When Sun Hao saw Li Shan go up, his expression became strange. Li Shan loudly said, "Brother Sun Hao, come. Take out your most powerful celestial spell and attack me. Li Shan will take it." Sun Hao hesitated for a bit. He had already reached the level where he could use a flying sword. He formed a seal with one hand, and a red flying sword quickly flew out from behind him. The red flying sword circled around his body, releasing a cold light. "Go!" The flying sword quickly flew toward Li Shan. Sun Hao took this opportunity to take out 4 or 5 thunderbolt bombs and shouted, "Watch my celestial spell." Li Shan began to laugh. He easily dodged the flying sword and thought, "Explode." Before Sun Hao could even throw out the thunderbolt bomb, it exploded with a loud boom, and an overwhelming stench filled the air. Sun Hao's entire body was covered with black ash, and he stood there blankly, unable to say anything for a long time. He couldn't understand why the thunderbolt bomb exploded before he even threw it. Did he use too much force? Li Shan let out a sigh and loudly said, "Brother Sun Hao's move is too powerful." "What kind of move is this? Self-destruct?" "Ah, I told you before that you have to hold the thunderbolt bomb gently. You grabbed it so hard, so of course it exploded prematurely." The Xian Dao sect disciples all laughed and mocked Sun Hao. Even the inner disciples of the Hung Yu sect held back their laughter. They were afraid that the elders would be unhappy if they laughed out loud. Huang Long was so angry that he waved his sleeves. A gust of wind blew away the stench and threw Sun Hao, who was still in a daze, back to the Hung Yu sect. Elder Ouyang smiled and said, "Friend Huang Long, that Sun Hao didn't use his celestial spell well, so I can't see his true strength. I think this match should be considered a draw." With that, he looked at Li Shan with admiration. Huang Long's face was gloomy. He said, "A loss is a loss. How can there be a draw? Continue." Elder Ouyang laughed and said, "You are indeed worthy of being a big sect from 500 years ago. Good, Sumu, you go up." A disciple walked out from the Xian Dao sect. He was about 24 or 25 years old. His face was clean and his eyes were clear. He walked up to the stage, clasped his hands, and no longer spoke. This time, Huang Longjinren did not call for the inner sect disciples. Instead, he took out a jade slip and gently crushed it. As the jade slip shattered, a flashing blue spell formation immediately appeared on the stone platform. Then, as the light shone brightly, 3 people walked out. The 3 of them were wearing purple. The moment they appeared, a powerful aura appeared. All of the inner disciples were shocked. Elder Ouyang's expression slightly changed as he carefully looked at the 3 of them. The middle-aged man, standing at the back of the Xian Dao sect disciples, suddenly revealed a strong desire to battle. After the 3 of them appeared, they coldly looked at the crowd. One of them, who was about 40 years old, said, "Xian Dao sect? I lost 20 years ago, but I definitely won't lose this time." Wang Lin's eyes narrowed. He only knew one of the 3, and that was second apprentice brother Zhang Quan. Huang Long calmly said, "Lu Song, you go up this time." Lu Song nodded. The 2 people beside him floated down from the stage and stood next to Huang Long. "Lu Song, 5th apprentice brother Lu Song. I heard that he was already at the 6th layer 20 years ago. This time, our Hung Yu sect will definitely win." Chapter 50. He is Lu Song. I heard my master say many times that he is the #1 genius of our Hung Yu sect. This time, the Xian Dao sect will lose for sure. 5th brother, you can do it. We will follow your example. The inner disciples of the Hung Yu sect all cheered excitedly. The previous 2 defeats allowed them to regain their confidence. There were even some female disciples who were infatuated with LV Song and immediately developed feelings of favor. Huang Long also had a smile on his face. He secretly thought that Lu Song would definitely win this time. Wang Zhuo looked at Lu Song with jealousy and snorted. The disciples of the Xian Dao sect were all shocked. Lu Song's fame was like thunder to them. Although they lost in the end, he left a deep impression on the elders of the Xian Dao sect. Elder Ouyang's face sank, and he said, "Sumu, I'll allow you to undo the ancestor's seal. Show me your true strength." Sumu's expression was serious as he took off his shirt. There was a dark yellow talisman on his chest. The elders of the Hung Yu sect were all startled. After carefully looking at the talisman, their faces were filled with shock. Huang Long's face turned pale as he said, "Fellow cultivator Ouyang, this talisman." Elder Ouyang's eyes lit up and he said, "Huang Long, I want to take this opportunity to say something. If my Xiandao sect wins today, then in addition to the previous conditions, we will need to add one more thing. The Hingyu Mountain will be loaned to my Xiandao sect for 500 years. Everyone's expression changed. Huang Long narrowed his eyes and said, "Fellow cultivator Ouyang, are you joking?" Elder Ouyang shook his head and said, "Fellow cultivator Huang Long, you have seen this talisman. Only a nascent soul ancestor can create it. To be honest, one of my Xiandao sect's ancestors returned from the foreign battleground in a rank 4 cultivation country. He brought back news that all of your Hung Yu sect's ancestors were killed." Huang Long's expression changed. After a long time, he said, "Fellow cultivator Ouyang, don't talk nonsense. Otherwise, don't blame the Hung Yu sect for not giving you face." Old man Ouyang faintly smiled and said, "My Xiandao sect didn't attack because of our past friendship. We gave the Hung Yu sect some face. If the Hung Yu sect wins this competition, then this matter will be over. I've already delivered the message. Fellow Taoist Huang Long, let's continue." The inner sect disciples of the Hung Yu sect were all confused, but they all felt as if there was a large stone pressing down on their hearts. At this moment, the sky seemed to darken. Wang Lin was shocked. What C2 Nin said was true. The world of cultivation was indeed divided according to the country. Sun Daju's face was pale, and his eyes were lifeless. He muttered to himself, "It's over, it's over. The founder is dead." The Hung Yu sect used to be able to use the fact that the founder was outside to deter the other sects. But now, it's over. Damn it, if it wasn't for the fact that 500 years ago, the Azure Dragon country, a rank 4 cultivation country, took away all of the nascent soul ancestors from the country of Zhao, the Hung Yu sect wouldn't have ended up like this. Huang Long saw that his juniors and inner sect disciples were all panicking. He suppressed the uneasiness in his heart and shouted, "People of the Hung Yu sect, don't panic. The core formation elders will determine if this is true or false. Why are you all panicking? Lu Song, continue the competition." On the stone platform, Lu Song was also shocked by old man Ouyang's words. At this moment, he focused his mind and spat out a ray of purple light. The moment the purple light appeared, it immediately swelled and turned into a giant hand that grabbed toward Sumu. Sumu's expression changed. Without a word, he slapped his bag of holding, and 6 golden balls flew out to meet the hand. Lu Song sneered. His right hand secretly formed a seal. He waved his hand in the air, and a strange wind suddenly appeared. The 6 golden balls seemed to tremble and deviated from their trajectory. This strange wind caused the spiritual energy in Sumu's body to become chaotic. His expression changed, and he shouted, "Explode!" The 6 golden balls exploded at the same time, creating a shockwave that forced the surrounding people to retreat. Lu Song coldly snorted and said, "Insignificant skill." The giant hand in the air formed into a fist. Ignoring the explosion of the golden balls, it didn't slow down and quickly smashed down. Sumu's face was pale. Seeing that the giant hand was about to smash down, he clenched his teeth, and an item suddenly floated out from his bag of holding. It was an ordinary-looking piece of yellow paper. Sumu bit the tip of his tongue and spat out a mouthful of blood. The blood quickly turned from mist to liquid and condensed into a blood dragon. Sumu didn't even blink. His right hand formed a seal, and his mouth muttered something. The blood dragon twisted and connected, forming a strange pattern. It suddenly imprinted itself on the yellow paper. The yellow paper suddenly emitted a dazzling light like a small sun. The fist smashing down from the sky dissipated at a speed visible to the naked eye. When Wang Lin saw this, his heart skipped a beat. He also had one of these talismans in his bag of holding. It's actually a spirit treasure. Lu Song frowned. He waved his sleeves, and 2 white dragons flew out. They quickly circled in the air and shot towards Sumu at lightning speed. Sumu laughed bitterly. At this time, all his energy was focused on resisting the giant fist in the air. He was powerless against the two flying swords that had turned into white dragons. Just as the two white dragons were about to reveal their ferocious mouths, a cold snort suddenly came from the Xiandao sect disciples. Shortly after, a black ray of light shot out from the Xiandao sect disciples and easily wrapped around the two white dragons. The two white dragons quickly shrank until they turned into two small silver swords. The black ray of light shrunk, and with a snap, the two flying swords broke in half and fell on the stone platform. Lu Song's expression changed. The flying swords he cultivated with his mind were destroyed. He coughed out a mouthful of blood and revealed a terrified expression. The giant hand that was pressing down on Su Mu's head also couldn't condense due to the damage to his mind and dissipated. Su Mu escaped the calamity. He quickly grabbed the yellow paper and quickly retreated. He couldn't help but reveal a look of relief on his face. Lu Song's expression was gloomy as he walked off the stone platform. Huang Long's expression sank, and he shouted, "Xiandao sect, don't go too far." The other disciples beside him were also glaring at them. Some of the more irritable ones had already taken out their magic treasures. It looked like they were about to start a fight if they didn't agree. Most of the inner disciples also saw through the situation and revealed looks of anger. The other two purple-clothed disciples looked at the middle-aged man standing at the back of the Xiandao sect disciples with a cautious expression. The cold snort just now was from him. Old man Ouyang turned around to look at the middle-aged man. He shook his head and bitterly smiled. "Your Hung-Yu sect won the third round. As for what just happened, Old man Ouyang, don't say so much nonsense. The Hung-Yu sect is only SOSO." The middle-aged man, standing at the back, arrogantly stepped forward. He took a step forward, and the ground began to crack. A thin crack appeared under his feet and spread to the side of the stone platform. Chapter 51. At the same time, his body flickered, and he appeared on the stone platform. He arrogantly looked at the Hung-Yu sect disciples and said, "All of you inner disciples, come at me together. I, Zhou Peng, am enough." The Hung-Yu sect disciples all went into an uproar. Their faces were filled with anger. Even the elders of the Hung-Yu sect were frowning. None of the Xiandao sect disciples said anything. Their eyes were filled with respect. It was obvious that this person's status in the Xiandao sect was not small. Elder Ouyang coughed and loudly said, "Huang Long, this Zhou Peng is the head disciple of the Xiandao sect. This time, we will decide the winner between us. If any of you can last 10 breaths without losing, then it will be considered your Hung-Yu sect's victory." Zhang Kuang's eyes lit up. He jumped onto the stone platform and said, "What an arrogant kid. I'll try you." Zhou Peng laughed and said, "You looks like you're only at the 6th layer of qi condensation. Hiding your strength at the 8th layer is not enough." As he spoke, a cold glint flashed across his eyes. He casually waved his sleeve, and a giant pitch-black snake leaped out. It grew with the wind and instantly turned into a giant python. The giant python's head was very large. It coldly looked at Zhang Kuang and sucked. An unimaginable suction force suddenly appeared. This suction force was very strange. It was only targeting Zhang Kuang. Zhang Kuang had no way of dodging it. Before he could even use a spell, his body was like a kite with a broken string. He was suddenly sucked in. Zhou Peng sneered. With a shake of his right hand, he grabbed Zhang Kuang's neck and arrogantly said, "Go back and cultivate for a few more decades. Then come find me again." With that said, he swung his right hand, and Zhang Kuang's body flew backwards at an extremely fast speed. The remaining purple-clothed disciple immediately jumped forward to catch Zhang Kuang, but he couldn't stop the force of the throw. The two of them slid on the ground for a long time before coming to a stop. Zhang Kuang's face was pale. His eyes were closed, and his body was constantly trembling. On his neck, there was a black handprint. It was like a pincer that was tightly stuck to his neck. The purple-robed disciple who caught him had a look of horror on his face and remained silent. Huang Long's heart was filled with bitterness. His opponent's eldest disciple was too strong. He could tell that his opponent's strength was at the 10th level of qi condensation. He must have a talisman on him to hide his cultivation level, so he couldn't see his actual cultivation level. Looking at the surrounding disciples, Huang Long let out a sigh. None of these disciples could win. Even the head disciple who was cultivating with the core formation elders was only at the 10th layer of qi condensation. He could put up a fight, but if he lost, the Hangyu sect would be completely defeated. Huang Long bitterly smiled. Forget it. This time, our Hangyu sect has no hope. We should inform the two ancestors about what that old man Ouyang said, and quickly make a decision. If what he said is true, then we won't be able to keep the Hangyu peak. Zhou Peng arrogantly swept his gaze across the crowd and said, "Who's next?" All of the Hangyu sect disciples were stunned, unable to speak. They all lowered their heads and didn't dare to look at Zhou Peng's gaze. No one wanted to go up. Zhou Peng sneered. In his heart, he looked down on these people. Suddenly, he was startled. There was a disciple at the 3rd layer who wasn't afraid of his gaze. Wang Lin's face was calm as he looked at Zhou Peng. Zhou Peng stared at Wang Lin and coldly said, "What? You want to come up?" Zhou Peng's words attracted everyone's attention. When they saw that Zhou Peng was pointing at Wang Lin, their expressions all became strange. Taoist Huang Long sighed. This Wang Lin was only at the 3rd level of qi condensation. In the past, he wouldn't have paid any attention to him. But now, compared to the other disciples, although this child's cultivation was low, his courage was commendable. Zhou Peng saw that Wang Lin didn't speak and sneered. Forget it. Since no one dares to compete, then my Xiandao sect wins this exchange. With that, he turned around and looked at Elder Ouyang. Elder Ouyang's face was filled with pride. He let out a long roar, and a black cloud suddenly flew out from the Hangyu sect. Wang Lin took a closer look. It was the 1,000-legged centipede. Elder Ouyang didn't say a word and jumped onto the centipede. Shortly after, the Xiandao sect disciples all jumped onto the centipede. The last one was Zhou Peng. He jumped onto the head of the centipede and looked at the Hangyu sect disciples with contempt. The 1,000-legged centipede moved and quickly flew away. In the distance, Elder Ouyang's low voice came. "Fellow cultivators of the Hangyu sect, everything I said before is true. All of your Hangyu sect's nascent soul ancestors have died. My Xiandao sect has won. Tomorrow, my Xiandao sect's ancestor, Panenzi, will arrive. You all should quickly leave." Huang Long and the others all frowned. Their hearts were shrouded in a dark cloud. They quickly dismissed the disciples and went to the inner mountain to report to the core formation ancestors. The Hangyu sect disciples all heard Elder Ouyang's words and felt uneasy. Sun Dezhu had a bitter expression on his face as he quickly returned to the courtyard with his hands behind his back. Wang Lin was alone. He looked at the direction the Xiandao sect left and let out a sigh. Wang Hao still hadn't brought the poison over. He could only watch as the centipede flew away. There was no chance for him to get the poison. He let out a sigh. He didn't return to Sun Dazhu's courtyard. Instead, he turned around and walked toward the house he used to go to. Not long after, he arrived at the house he hadn't been to in many years. This house was something every inner disciple would receive. As long as the name of the sect was on it, it wouldn't be given to others. So after all these years, this house still belonged to Wang Lin. Inside the house, he sat cross-legged on the bed. After pondering a little, he took out the stone bead, clenched his teeth, and immersed himself in it again. In the dream space, the moment Wang Lin appeared, Situ Nan's voice suddenly came out. "Why didn't you go up to the competition before? With your current cultivation level, you could have killed that head disciple of the Xiandao sect with one slap." Wang Lin bitterly smiled and respectfully said, "Senior, Junior is only at the 3rd layer of qi condensation. How could I beat him?" Situ Nan snorted and said, "What 3rd layer of qi condensation? Didn't I tell you last time? You are at the peak of the spirit movement stage, which is equivalent to the 14th layer of the foundation establishment stage. Do you think the old man's nascent soul essence was wasted? Not to mention anything else, if you were still at the 3rd layer, how could you see through all the disciples' cultivation levels?" Wang Lin was startled. His heart suddenly became nervous. He hesitated for a bit and said, Junior really reached the 14th layer of chi condensation? Situ, Nan snappily said, yes. Would an old man like me lie to you? Because your cultivation level is inside the space, it doesn't match up to reality. After a period of time, it will naturally adjust and show itself. Wang Lin took a deep breath. Just as he was about to speak, Situ, Nan suddenly said, Your teacher is here to find you. Quickly get out. Wang Lin felt his vision blur. When he reappeared, he was already inside the room. The moment he appeared, the door was pushed open. Sun Daju's eyes lit up as he stared at Wang Lin. After a few glances, he said, Follow me. Chapter 52. With that, he turned around and left. Wang Lin hesitated for a bit, but remembering that Situ, Nan said he was already at the 14th layer, he calmed down and followed Sun Daju. He wanted to see what this Sun Daju was going to do. He saw that Sun Daju didn't go anywhere else but toward the garden. Not long after, he arrived at the garden and walked in. Wang Lin's expression was calm. He pondered for a bit and followed in. After Sun Yu entered the garden, he pointed at the cup of tea on the table and said, Disciple, drink this. This is the elixir I prepared for you. After you drink it, pack your bags and follow me out of the Hung Yu sect. Wang Lin looked at the cup of tea and didn't speak. Sun Daju frowned. He picked up the cup and handed it to Wang Lin. He said, I can't stay in the Hung Yu sect anymore. The ancestor of the Xian Dao sect will descend. When the time comes, we will all have to run for our lives. Wang Lin didn't take the cup. He scanned it with his divine sense and found that it did contain spiritual energy. He said, Disciple is not thirsty, so I won't drink this tea. Sun Daju's eyes became cold and said, Drink it. Don't force me to make a move. Wang Lin pondered. He took the cup with his left hand and looked at Sun Daju. He remembered that Situ Nan said he was at the 14th layer of chi condensation, so his right hand quietly formed a seal. The attraction technique suddenly appeared and turned into a giant hand that quickly fell from the sky and grabbed Sun Daju. Sun Daju was stunned and immediately began to struggle, but no matter how much he struggled, he couldn't break free. Gradually, his eyes revealed a look of horror. What kind of technique is this? Wang Lin didn't speak. He arrived next to Sun Daju. His eyes lit up and he patted Sun Daju's chest. Sun Daju subconsciously opened his mouth and Wang Lin poured the tea into Sun Daju's mouth. Sun Daju's expression changed greatly. With a hint of ferociousness, he said, Wang Lin, what are you doing? Are you going to kill your teacher? If you kill me, the Hung Yu sect won't let you go. Let me tell you, sect leader Shi Xiang asked me to go there in a while. If I don't go, he will definitely find someone to summon me. Wang Lin didn't say a word. He scanned Sun Daju with his spiritual sense. The tea in Sun Daju's body had already dissolved. Silver threads were moving through Sun Daju's blood vessels and drilling into his head. Sun Daju obviously felt that something was wrong. He was about to speak, but it was too late. The threaded object had already drilled into his brain. In an instant, his ferocious expression slowly relaxed and finally calmed down. Wang Lin stared at Sun Daju and immediately noticed that something was wrong. Sun Daju's eyes were obviously dull. He pondered for a while and said, Master, disciple doesn't want to kill Master and destroy the ancestors. It's you who had evil intentions toward me first. If I really drink this tea, I'm afraid I'll definitely be killed by you. Sun Daju's expression was stiff. He suddenly said, You can't drink tea. Wang Lin was startled. He carefully looked at Sun Daju for a long time, then suddenly asked, Why can't I drink? Sun Daju's expression was numb as he said, There is 3 corpse thread grass in the tea. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he asked, What is the use of this 3 corpse thread grass? It can control the opponent's actions for a short period of time. It is one of the necessities of making puppets. Wang Lin's eyes flashed with killing intent. He calmly said, Why did you give it to me? Ever since I found out you had the spirit gourd, I've been puzzled, so I accepted you as my disciple. I originally wanted to wait until you reached the first layer of chi condensation before using the soul searching technique on you. However, because I gave you the spirit transforming grass, I felt that you wouldn't reach the first layer within 10 years, so I let it go. I didn't expect your cultivation to actually reach the third layer. Also, the Hung Yu sect is currently facing a disaster. My cultivation level is too low, so I wanted to see if you have any secrets before I leave. That's why I prepared this tea for you. Wang Lin took a deep breath and asked, "What is the spirit transforming grass? Have you told anyone else about me? Also, why didn't you use this 3-corpse threadgrass on me?" The spirit transforming grass is a necessity when one's cultivation is dissipating. Its function is to dissipate the spiritual energy in the body. I didn't tell anyone about you before because I was afraid someone would steal the gourd from me. Later, things happened too suddenly. If I told anyone, it wouldn't do me any good, so it was better to act on my own. I didn't have this 3-corpse threadgrass before, but last year, when I left the mountain, I stole a sect record and exchanged it with a fellow cultivator. That fellow cultivator said that under the foundation establishment stage, the success rate is 100%. Also, this grass is colorless and odorless, so it's not easy to detect. I originally planned to use it on my third martial nephew to get some good fortune pills. Wang Lin was furious. He sneered, "Aren't you afraid I'll find out? In order to obtain your secrets, I can't care too much. I'm already old. If I don't make progress, I won't have any hope of reaching the foundation establishment stage." A cold light flashed in Wang Lin's eyes. His voice was cold as he said, "You said the sect leader was looking for you. Is that true?" "No." As soon as Sun Daju finished speaking, Wang Lin's eyes flashed. He hit Sun Daju's head with his palm. Sun Daju's body twitched and blood flowed out of his orifices as he fell to the ground. Wang Lin stared at Sun Daju's body. There was an indescribable feeling in his heart. This was the first time he had killed someone, and the person he killed was his own master. After a long silence, Wang Lin put away Sun Daju's body. He walked out of the Hung Yu sect with a depressed expression. He found a mountain stream and threw the body down. As for Sun Daju's bag of holding, he kept it. There were still some good things inside. After returning to his room, Wang Lin sat cross-legged on the bed. He scanned the room with his divine sense and left a trace of warning around the room. If someone was probing, he would immediately notice. After doing all this, he took out the mysterious bead and began to ponder. 3 days ago, the mysterious bead's surface had completely disappeared, leaving behind a faint leaf shape. Regarding this, Situ Nan's explanation was that of the 5 elements. The water element was already full. What he needed now was the wood element. Because of this, he had repeatedly urged Wang Lin to leave the Hung Yu sect and find wood element materials to quickly replenish the heaven-defying bead's wood element. Wang Lin now had a better understanding of his own cultivation. He knew he had reached the 14th layer of qi condensation. Holding the bead, he entered the dream space. The moment he entered, he quickly put the bead into his bag of holding. In the dream space, as soon as Wang Lin appeared, Situ Nan's voice sounded, "Not bad. You have the style of the old man Wang Lin. Remember, the cultivation world is a very cruel place. The weak are prey to the strong. If you still have the same simple mentality as before, I'm afraid you won't live for long." Wang Lin was silent for a long time. Then he said, "Senior, shouldn't we prepare for foundation building? Junior doesn't know anything about the chant for foundation building." Situ Nan snorted and said, "As long as I know, it's fine. But foundation building is considered to have stepped into the path of cultivation. It is very difficult. You should find a quiet place to close up. That way, your chances of success will be much higher. Also, your spirit energy spring water and snow water are no longer suitable. At the moment of foundation building, you need a lot of spirit energy. You need to prepare some dew." Wang Lin nodded and said, "The dew is easy, but it will take a lot of time." Chapter 62. Situ Nan sighed and said, "The spirit movement stage is also the qi condensation stage. In reality, you use the spiritual energy from the heavens and earth to change your body. All of this is to prepare for the foundation establishment stage. You can already try to reach the foundation establishment stage, but I suggest you reach the 15th layer before you reach the foundation establishment stage. Your talent is already not good enough. Although I've spent a lot of my nascent soul essence to help you change your body, if I still had my body, I could barely do it. But now, I can only make your talent a bit better, but not perfect. In addition, your current method of attack is too simple. Apart from a basic immortal method, the art of attraction, you have nothing else. This won't do. Unfortunately, the cultivation method I mastered can only be practiced after reaching the foundation establishment stage. You should reach the foundation establishment stage as soon as possible. Then I will teach you the Netherworld Ascension technique. Wang Lin was startled and said, "The Underworld Ascension method." Situnin said, "Not bad. Hee, even in our rank 6 cultivation country, my cultivation method would be considered one of the best. Unfortunately, you must find a place with extreme yin energy to cultivate it, or else your progress will be too slow. However, the yin energy you cultivate will definitely be very powerful. Most importantly, this method has the highest chance of reaching the core formation stage. Then it's decided. After you reach the foundation establishment stage, you'll cultivate the Underworld Ascension method." Wang Lin pondered a little and nodded. Also, Wang Lin, don't put the heaven-defying bead in your bag of holding. It's best to keep it close to your chest. That way, even if you don't enter the dream, I can still communicate with you, and you can enter the dream through me. Time slowly passed while Situ Nan was explaining. After 2 days in the dream space, Wang Lin awakened. He sat cross-legged on the bed and took out the mysterious bead. He drank a mouthful of spirit liquid and began to cultivate. The next morning, Wang Lin opened the door to his room. He looked up at the sky and began to ponder. The Hung Yu sect was facing a disaster. He had too many secrets. Perhaps this was a chance to leave this place. While he was pondering, the entire Hung Yu peak began to shake as if there was an earthquake. A voice that sounded like the might of the heavens suddenly descended from the sky. It turned into bolts of thunder that descended with a loud rumble. "Old man, Xin Dao sect's Punanzi, junior of the Hung Yu sect, since you have lost, quickly leave this place." Huang Long, who was in the main hall, was shocked. Just at this moment, more than 10 figures rushed out from the Hung Yu sect's inner mountain. The 2 people at the front were very eye-catching. One of them was an old man with white hair and a youthful face. Next to him was an old woman. Her face was filled with wrinkles, and her face was gloomy. She silently stared at the sky. Behind the 2 of them were 10 old men, all of them wearing bitter expressions. The white-haired old man loudly said, "Senior Punanzi, why have you come to the Hung Yu sect? Please speak." A tall figure appeared in the sky. He had a wide face and big ears, looking quite dignified. He said in a deep voice, "You already know the answer." If it was 500 years ago, the old man would be afraid of the Hung Yu sect's protective formation. But now, it seems that it is only SOSO. After the old man breaks it, I'll talk to you juniors. As he spoke, he waved his hand, and a small pitch-black mountain instantly appeared. This small mountain grew with the wind, and in an instant, it turned into a giant mountain that reached the sky. His hands formed a seal, and his mouth said a few complicated words. The giant mountain immediately smashed down. With a boom, a light screen appeared above Pine Peak and Hung Yu Peak. This light screen was like an upside-down bowl, protecting the Hung Yu sect and blocking the giant mountain. It is indeed worthy of being the sect from 500 years ago. This invisible formation is indeed powerful. It can actually split up all the attacks. But the old man wants to see how many attacks this formation can take from the old man without a nascent soul cultivator. Punanzi sneered. His right hand pointed at the giant mountain and quickly formed a seal. The giant mountain immediately began to spin and smash down again. The complexions of the white-haired old man and the old woman greatly changed. They rushed out and arrived on the stone platform of Green Pine Peak. At this time, the white-haired old man and the old woman were sitting cross-legged on the 8 white jades around them. Their hands were quickly forming seals. At this moment, the giant mountain smashed down and the light screen let out an earth-shattering sound. The 7-colored light flashed and was able to withstand the attack. On the other 6 pieces of white jade sat 6 foundation establishment elders. Each of their faces were filled with worry and unease. Huang Long, quickly call all the inner sect disciples here. The biggest calamity of the Hung Yu sect in 500 years will happen today. The old woman shouted. Then, she quickly spat out a mouthful of core chi at the white jade, and her hands formed seals even faster. Huang Long's body trembled. Without a word, he quickly rushed toward the Hung Yu peak along the stone bridge. It can withstand 2 attacks. This is the 3rd time break for me. In the sky, Pun Nz let out a cold snort and spat out a mouthful of nascent soul chi. Suddenly, the mountain trembled and expanded more than 10 times its original size. It almost covered the sky as it smashed down. After a boom, one of the 8 pieces of white jade exploded. The Foundation establishment elder sitting on top of it bled from his orifices and fell to the ground. Chapter 63. Break for me. Break. Break. Pun Nz's face was ferocious. He waved his hand like crazy, and the giant mountain continued to smash down. Thunderous rumbles echoed across the sky. The commoners in the surrounding villages, towns, and counties were all so frightened that they hid in their rooms, not daring to go out. Those who were more courageous looked out of the windows and saw a huge mountain floating in the air, constantly crashing down. Another white jade shattered. A Foundation establishment elder coughed out blood and fell to the ground. Pun Nz took out a purple gourd and muttered something. His hands moved and the gourd trembled. A dark red liquid came out of the gourd. The moment the liquid appeared, it shined like a flame and surrounded the giant mountain. Break! Pun Nz let out a roar and the giant mountain smashed down. With a bang, a web of cracks appeared on the light barrier and spread out in all directions. 2 more white jades shattered, and 2 more elders fell to the ground. Out of the 8 white jades, only 4 remained. Aside from the 2 core formation elders, the other 2 Foundation establishment elders' faces were ashen. They were sweating profusely, and their bodies were trembling uncontrollably. It was obvious that they had reached a critical point. At this moment, Huang Long had already brought all the inner disciples here. All of them had shocked expressions and were filled with fear. Wang Lin was among them. He stared at Pun Nz in the sky, and his heart was filled with fear. Wang Hao was also among them, but his face was pale and his body was extremely weak. When he saw Wang Lin, he let out a sigh and moved closer to Wang Lin. Pun Nz's face was gloomy. The tenacity of this invisible void formation was beyond his imagination. He knew that this formation wasn't limited to what he had just seen. If there was a nascent soul cultivator controlling it, it would be able to display its full power. Right now, this formation could only defend and not attack. If there was a nascent soul cultivator controlling it, it would be able to display the terrifying power of the formation. The old man saw the Foundation establishment juniors fall one by one. His heart was bleeding. He shouted, "Senior Pun Nz, the Xiandao sect has always had a good relationship with the Hung Yu sect. Are you really going to kill us all?" Pun Nz snorted and coldly said, "Lu Wenju, I haven't seen you in 500 years. You, a junior, have become the backbone of the Hung Yu sect and reached the core formation stage. You could be considered the descendant of an old friend. It is a pity that the protective formation was destroyed. If you had opened it yourself, then everything would have been fine." The core formation cultivator, Lu Wenju, revealed a look of hesitation. The old woman next to him angrily said, "Senior Pun Nz, I can't comply." Pun Nz let out a laugh. His face darkened, and he shouted, "Forget it! Break this protective formation for me." As he spoke, he waved his right hand, and the huge mountain slowly rose up. Then he took a deep breath. His face was slightly red as he opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of nascent soul chi. Immediately, the huge mountain expanded several times. Fall! Pun Nz's hand seal changed. He pointed at the mountain and slowly pushed it down. The huge mountain let out a buzzing sound and slowly pushed it down an inch. The great mountain protecting array made a cracking sound, and more cracks appeared in the net. A white jade shattered, and another Foundation building elder collapsed. The huge mountain pressed down another inch. The last foundation establishment elder also coughed out blood and fell to the ground. Break! Punanzi let out a roar, and the huge mountain pressed down 3 inches. The pine mountain trembled, and a rumbling sound could be heard. The huge mountain was actually pushed down a few hundred feet. The stone bridge that connected the Hung Yu sect to the Hung Yu sect broke in the middle and fell into the mountain stream. At the same time, the Hung Yu sect protective formation finally couldn't hold on any longer. The sound of a mirror breaking could be heard. The entire protective formation shattered and disappeared. The remaining 2 white jades exploded. Lu Wenjiu and the old woman fell to the ground. Their faces were bitter, and they couldn't say a word. Punanzi let out a cold snort. His body gently floated down from the sky. The huge mountain was still hanging in the air, and waves of pressure slowly spread out. After he landed, his expression was cold. He looked at Lu Wenjiu and the old woman and said, "Your Hung Yu sect's nascent soul ancestors have all died in the battle against the foreign cultivation planets. You can't protect the Hung Yu sect. Instead of letting others take it, why not give it to my Xiandao sect?" Lu Wenjiu bitterly looked at the old woman and whispered, "Senior, please consider the good relationship between our 2 sects and don't." Before Lu Wenjiu could finish, Punanzi impatiently said, "Scram, you can't take anything away. If you keep talking, the old man doesn't mind wiping out your entire Hung Yu sect." The old woman's face was filled with anger. Just as she was about to open her mouth, Lu Wenjiu quickly pulled her back. He took a deep breath and respectfully said, "Junior understands, but this Hung Yu sect has been around for thousands of years. Junior doesn't have a right to give it to Senior, so I can only lend it to him. If he—" Punanzi let out a cold laugh and once again interrupted her. He arrogantly said, "Lend? Fine, lend it to my Xiandao sect for 100,000 years." The inner disciples were all angry, but they didn't dare to speak. Their faces were filled with sadness, and they all silently pondered. Some of the disciples' eyes lit up, and they began to make plans for themselves. Punanzi's gaze fell on Huang Long, and he said, "You leave behind the Purple Mountain Celestial Sword. My nephew Ouyang has taken a liking to this sword." Huang Long clenched his fist in humiliation. He looked at the old woman and Lu Wenjiu and found that neither of them spoke. He helplessly sighed, took out the Purple Mountain Celestial Sword, and threw it to the side. Punanzi's right hand reached out, and the Purple Mountain Celestial Sword floated into his hand. Suddenly, purple gas came out from the sword and formed a giant purple dragon. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.